so basic inversions. So what we're looking at today is just inversions, working towards them. No one ever has to do an inversion in their life to become a happy human. That is for sure. Plenty of people have proved that. Why we practice them is because they help us, A, get over a bunch of stuff, right? So a lot of people have fear in going upside down, also in going upside down and having, that no support behind them. And I've seen people do yoga for 45 years, I'm not even joking, and never be able to do a headstand away from the wall because of that fear. And it's interesting because they also show us what we're missing. I had a huge fear, completely ungrounded headstands for a huge chunk of my life, based on taking advice from someone who knew nothing about yoga and their perspective, which he then owned years later as being completely false, and he was just bullshitting me. And I was like, right? And I'm sure a lot of it is psychological too, right? Like there's stuff in me that I probably have to look at or have to look at in order for me to get over that fear, and that's something that I can continually work on. It's not gone because I learned how to do a headstand, but I definitely am a shit ton better because I personally learned how to do a headstand. That is for sure. It's a level of strength when you can hold it in the middle of the room, which is absolutely fantastic. Just for body functioning, since I've done inversions like that, I can hold them long periods of time, like zero headaches. I have, my heart feels fantastic. There's just so many, you can Google it. There's just so many benefits to going upside down. But there are ways of doing it. We've done free headstands, and we all have experienced that, and that is a wonderful option if you don't have the strength to hold it in the middle of the room. But just because you don't have the strength now to hold it in the middle of the room doesn't mean you don't maybe want to work towards having that level of physical strength, because it is beneficial, right? Does anyone have any questions or anything specifically that they want me to cover?
Periods and sinus pressure.
Okay, so very similar, right? So periods, I have gone both ways on this, and I've heard people go both ways on this, right? So originally I was like, I'm not going to let a patriarchal society tell me what to do with my body and blah, 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 blah. And I've read scientific studies that will absolutely back that. That are saying it doesn't affect your period at all, right? And I call absolute bullshit on that, because my experience has been, and it's been my own experience, and I've studied with a lot of females, and some of them are one way and some of them the other. And all of the women that I know, who I respect as yoga teachers, including myself, have learned in the course of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years that it does affect your period, and that it's better not to do them when you're on your period. It definitely slows my period down, and everyone I've taught says the same thing, right? And I mean, do you really need to be exerting that much energy when your body should really be relaxing and chilling the hell out? So what I've done with that information that I've come up with, when I'm in a training, like say I'm in India or whatever, going to New York to study with Dharma or whatever, and I'm learning something, I am willing to sacrifice my body a little bit for that knowledge, but I'm very mindful of it. And I do inversions are not hard for me, right? Like you see me, I can do an inversion and talk and throw my legs around. It's become something that's just not an issue for me. And so it's not a huge exertion for me. And I'm not trying to have children this week. I'm also, I don't have period issues, that kind of thing. So I will do a small portion of my practice just to get the information, but I will take it super easy, right? So that is my opinion on that. Does anybody else have a different opinion than that? Feel free to share, I'm totally open to that. Because of my fertility stuff, I've also talked to specialists that are not in the yoga field, and I've yet to find a Chinese medicine doctor, a naturopath, or anyone who thinks it's a good idea to go upside down and into it.
Yeah, I mean, who would choose to do that? But if you're at if you're at a training or something, or you want to obviously take advantage of it, but
I'm
also you're like,
and I have so many people that do it. I know teachers that have been teaching for 35 years that still say it's okay. You know what I mean? But they don't have as much experience with inversions as I do. They started yoga later in life, possibly they already had children, you know what I mean? They didn't teach the same community. Their version of inversions is very different than my version of inversions, right? They do very supported inversions, so it just depends on which side you're coming from. And I'm sure that there are people that do inversions and have no issues, but maybe they didn't have issues before either.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? Like, I'm not saying that's wrong, and if you want to go upside down for a period, I think power to you. I have chosen not to, and you get to make a decision.
I have another question, well, also the sinus issue, with that low blood pressure, high blood pressure,
Okay.
generally.
Okay, so let's talk about first the sinusitis. So I don't go upside down when I have sinusitis, okay, which is it's hard to describe until you've had it. It's an infection in your sinuses, and it's interesting because you don't actually really usually have a runny nose. Would you agree with that statement? Because you're a nurse. Do you know much about sinusitis?
Sinusitis, no.
Okay, so my experience with it, and I've had it and I've talked to a lot of people about it, is you don't always have a runny nose, and so it's weird, but you have almost like a weird sinus headache.
I've had it, yeah.
It's weird.
It's like, just feels like your head is just crammed with garbage and it's like a lot of pressure and it's like
Yeah.
pushing, feels like your brain is just gonna push right over your head.
And often you're gonna get earaches, throat, teeth aches, that's what I'm getting said here. Toothaches, depends on which part of your sinus it's in. And so, again, I sometimes like to learn the hard way. And so I was like, I wanna go to a sauna and get rid of this because I wanna do what I wanna do. And so I went to a sauna once and I did shit tons of folds trying to think that I would fix it. And I knew that I shouldn't do that, right? But it's, and as yoga teachers, sometimes we have to experience things so that we know that they're true. And my face swelled up. I was like, like this, right? And then Rob came over, he's like, I'm taking you to the hospital. And then, I almost got admitted because it can go into your brain. Yeah, and that's why you don't do it. And I've heard a million times not to do it. Like, honestly, it's kind of funny. And this is not that long ago, I'm embarrassed to say that. I'm suggesting that you learn from it because in the end, I made it so much worse in an effort to make it better, right? So high blood pressure, low blood pressure. I am a big fan of people keep themselves quite safe because the odds of being able to do something when you have extreme high blood pressure are very slim, right? So, for example, if you've got really low blood pressure, one of the best things you can do is a supported inversion. Like you can do a little bridge where you get your pelvis up, right? And then your head is low or legs up the wall. And that is, I've worked with people with severe low blood pressure that just drop and then pass out and get the shakes, right? And the only thing that we've found that will work for them is then inverting. That was me.
Nice.
That was you for a long time. Yeah, and I have a cousin that's like that too, it's full on, and that's, if they don't do some type of inversion daily, then they really struggle, right? And it also helps them to digest food because when your blood pressure is low, all body functioning is challenging. So particularly the little bridge where you get your abdomen up and your legs up, like if you can do little bridge, you can lift your legs up, you know what I'm talking about? Like we did it yesterday with the bolsters in the workshop, right? Some type of sechi bandha where the legs are raised, or sometimes we do it with bolsters with legs up the wall. Then you're getting the digestion and you're also getting the head below the heart, so there's lots of benefits there, right? High blood pressure, right? Like you know that, and so if you're cueing people, no pain, always being in control of your breath, you can see when someone's losing their stuff, then that's their call, right? I know plenty of people that do inversions with high blood pressure, but they are very much in control of what they're doing, right? And I'd like to think in my class, the people that are doing inversions that have been with me long enough to have learned how to do inversions with me have that level of understanding of their body. So that if they're getting out of their comfort zone and out of what's good for their body, then they're gonna come down, and what do you immediately do? Child's pose. And I really say, get your head down, right? Like, don't look around. Like, I'm really adamant about that because to go upside down like that and then to wing your head up like this, if you do have high blood pressure, it's just the worst thing you can do for yourself. So I just make everybody just bring your head down because that's therapeutic, whereas bringing yourself up right away is not therapeutic. You do it once the first time, you go, oh, I did it! You know what I mean? I get it, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that you wanted to cheer, but now get your head down. Right? And then they'll remember it, right? But if you keep letting it slide, then you're not teaching them what's best for them either, right? It's hard to tell people what they're not doing. It really is. It's hard to be a leader. That's the hardest part of teaching. It's really challenging because,
People don't often want to hear it either, right? So it's like, here, I just want everybody to be happy, but you're not doing that. Don't do that. It's hard. It's so hard.
It's really hard and it's a big, big responsibility because we're taking people's money and we're selling something as being holistic and transformative, right? And so, when you get to a level where people are with you for a while, sometimes it's not even just the physical shit. It's like, oh, you're late all the time, or whatever it might be, Do you think that's respectful to all the students in the room, that every single class, we all have to move, and that's a shitty conversation to have. But those people are doing that with their life, and they need that conversation. At some point, right, someone's got to say. And there's always an excuse. Always, right? So let's read two bodies, unless anyone has, did you have one more question?
No.
Okay.
I have just a comment. When I started with you, I was terrified of inversions, obviously, but I also had moderately low blood pressure.
Yeah.
It wasn't like an issue, but I couldn't donate blood.
Yeah.
It was low enough for that, and now it's normal.
Yeah.
So for me, it brought my blood pressure to a more normal state, and even my heart rate was lower than it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And now it's normal.
Yeah.
Like it is.
Her
So it's
too.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and me too, right? And the interesting thing about this is it took Lara a long time to get there too, right? Because your body had to become healthier in order for her to maintain it. Another reason I don't teach headstands at the wall. And if we're doing headstands on support, it's 1 minute max.
Yeah, my holds were so short at first, tiny.
Your body knows what it needs if you listen. Right? And if you don't force things, then it's gonna come, whereas if you try and force it, it's not gonna come. But if you don't do it, it ain't gonna come either. Right? So there's the pendulum. Some people wanna do too much, some people don't wanna do anything, but they want the same result. What's the right thing? In the middle. Right? And so we have to figure out what our tendencies are in order to adjust our behavior so that we can be holistic and healthy to ourselves. Because what I need and what Chelsea needs are not the same thing, because we are not the same.
Can I ask you, just to clarify with the support, is that like the stools or the blocks on the shoulders? Okay.
Yeah.
And do you always do that at the wall?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all spots in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
The reason why, I've tried it in the middle of the room, and I just don't think you have enough control.
Right. Yeah.
Because you don't have enough contact and you've got a prop, right? It's just, it's just not.
And you say 1 minute max.
1 minute max.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm overly cautious, as you know, and so do it in the middle of the room and you figure out what you think from your teaching.
I've always practiced it at the wall myself.
So and what I've done, because again, I'm overly cautious and I don't want to project that on everyone else, I've pulled it away a little bit and I can do it, but I just don't feel stable.
Yeah,
And even at the wall, I just don't feel 100% stable because you've got all these things that are kind of doing it for you so you don't have to do it for
Nothing
yourself.
is actually touching the ground, right?
That's it. Yeah, and I am good at them, I don't have fear in headstands, but because I've got this thing that I don't have control of that, and that's my stuff, is trusting, right? I don't trust those props as much as I trust my own shoulders to tell me when I'm not quite right. And you can really hurt yourself coming out of it wrong, right? So, that's my theory on it, currently. Okay, so let's read you first, because I know you really want to
just ask one
that's what we're here for.
So I have a lot of students that are at the stage of doing the supportive at the wall but no weight on their head.
Yeah.
And so I'm just really curious about, how they got from there to there, because I'm afraid to take them past that point without being 100% certain that they can bear their own weight.
Yeah.
Just because for me it was such a huge experience, I
Yeah.
want to be extremely confident before I do that. And they're all so keen, I want to hold them back.
So I have tests. What do you think those tests are?
Well, being able to do this, being able to, do a lot of core really easily.
Integrity series? Yeah.
So they're able to do those already.
And then inversion prep?
Yeah.
Easily. Yeah. And then you just start them doing it with their feet on the ground and you watch their shoulders, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm really liking, right now, Treats for Traps, the new one.
I'm making
Holy smokes, that is so good for creating that stability and this awareness, right? Especially if you get that connection, it's so good. Yeah, and it just keeps them from doing this.
Do you have a video on that?
Treats or traps, I do, but Stephen is reluctant to post it because he doesn't think it's good enough now.
Oh, crap.
Well, it's on the workshops, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm like, I don't have time to do another one, just post that one.
Right.
I'll post it and then I'll do another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cause I'm not here, Stephen.
Yeah. Chelsea doesn't care.
Yeah.
They don't care, they just want it now. Better now and I'll make it nicer when we have time.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's look at your heads. Any more questions? We're all good? And just play at your own pace, right? Like we have people that have done headstands for years, right? And we have people that have never done a headstand. And so it's playing at your own pace, resting when you need to rest. That's the beauty of workshops, is you're in charge of taking care of you. I am not a babysitter in these things. I don't want to be a babysitter in these things. And if you don't know how to do it, don't do it. Ask me, right? Okay, so let's look at yours. And we're gonna come quick, yeah, because she's gonna be told this forever. Turn the other way if you don't mind.
All the way?
Yeah. And I'm gonna read the whole thing eventually, and it's too much information, but it's sometimes nice to have too much information just when you're learning how to read, but I would not give her that much information. So who wants to start? And she knows most of this. Caitlin.
Her feet, maybe a bit.
And don't change anything.
Like she's kind of leaning back a bit?
Yeah, she's leaning back and yeah, her feet are not symmetrical.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go quickly.
It's from her hips, I think, like from
Yeah.
the pelvis. Her torso looks really good.
Mm-hmm. Lisa?
I would say maybe,
Go ahead.
I would say maybe her elbows are just a little bit too narrow.
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Yeah, you can see it. So her stability is not gonna be great with that, right? What's the difference between where she's bulging and where she's shortening?
So I'd say she's shortening in the lower back.
Yeah, so she's really strong in the front, right? What's ahead of her, she's like, teacher, here I come, right? And so she's overdoing it, right? Even in her feet, she's way better today than she was yesterday in her feet though, because she hurt me and she was she needs to work on the back body, do you see that? She's a banana, right? And she can banana in a back bend eventually, but she wants to be able to find straight first, and then she can go there safely using all her muscles. So and that's enough, come down. Any way you want. So if you were a teacher, what are the main things you'd work on? What would you want to teach her today?
I would do pelvis stuff.
Yeah, creases, right? Because she's in a back bend. And I'd make her find her leg joints, and I'd make her learn how to use her hamstrings and her calves. Does that make sense? Right? Because she's overdoing the front, and she's underdoing the back. So what does she need to do? She needs to learn how to use her back body so that it can support her front body. Does that make sense? And then it's the pendulum, right? She was afraid to come up, and so now she's going too far up,
Okay.
which is bendy people's habit, right? Too much. It's hard to find, right? So she needs a boundary. So I'm probably gonna make her, for the first time ever, do a headstand at the wall. Yeah. And like the elbows, she knows. She just, you know what I mean? Like those things I know she knows. But the big, like I'm just gonna pick two things. Find her joints and make her straight. Because that's what's the priority, right? So let's look at Chelsea. And we're gonna be really quick on these reads. When you need to come down. Okay. So if you didn't read, get in front and do a read, yeah? Please. Unless you have no idea, it's okay, because you haven't done it with us for a while. But sometimes you see things that you don't even know that you could see unless, you know what I mean, if you look. Anybody?
I would find ribs a little more.
Yeah.
But I don't wanna say too many things.
Anybody?
My shoulders can go a little bit more wobbly.
She's twisting in her shoulders. Yeah. So you see that this armpit's further back and you can measure that.
Oh, yeah.
Because her
I
pelvis
feel
is
that.
down. See this hip's further forward and that shoulder's further back, right? So that's gonna mess with her stability a little bit. And then adding on to theirs, has anyone else? Chop chop, she's gonna be here forever.
She's also going far.
Little bit. So with her, she's got her calves, she needs to find her hamstrings a bit and she needs to lengthen here in her lumbar.
Ah.
So flesh of butt away from low back.
Oh, wow.
And then come down nicely.
That feels so different. Ooh. Okay.
You're just gonna take a little rest. And so what do you think I would do to think about that twist?
To line them up properly.
What I would do, which we're not gonna do this week because we did it last week, is I would put her on a bath mat, but you're here for another week, so you can always come. And you can do it on your own. Bath mat, and then teach her how to learn to do the pelvis and the shoulders and feel when they're twisting. Would be super helpful for you right
Get
now.
a new
at this
job.
stage. Yeah. That. She likes her job, right?
Yeah, I
She likes her job, so she needs to get a yoga practice that supports her job,
do. Yeah.
as opposed to looking for a new job.
I've tried so much to
Yeah.
balance that out, because I'm so keen on evening it out, but it just is like.
It's so hard, and yeah,
That series is gonna help though, it really will.
it's so good, Chelsea, you're gonna love it.
Series?
The new one.
It's treats for travel,
bath
and
mat.
we do it on a bath mat.
Okay.
Yeah, come to a regular class between now and when we go and we'll do it together, and then I'll get Steven to put up the crappy video.
Yeah.
So let's okay, so the core kind of goes in stages as you've learned, right? You don't just go to 6 and 6, and you don't want to do 6 and 6 unless you've done a lot of integrity series, right? So some of us are going to be like, oh my god, because we're going to like the top of the mountain quarterly. But you do what you can. So what would you do if you want to make it easier?
You can bend your knees.
Yeah, what else would you do? With core, how would you make things easier? Do less. So bend your knees, move your feet hips distance apart, take a break, bend both knees, right? If your arms are in a position, you go back to the original position. And again, be your own boss, if it's too much, take a rest. So, 6 and 6 is what I used when I was getting over having children and getting back into inversions, because I didn't invert much when I was pregnant. I did, but I didn't do a ton, and so they were choppy. So we're talking with some people about back body, and we're also talking about finding the hamstrings and the calves, right, and the feet. And so bent knee is always the best when looking for the hamstrings, right? And so really finding that connection of digging your heels in and pulling them towards your butt so that we're engaging the hamstrings, making sure we're taking the time to really lengthen the back body so that we can find these ribs. And then using the block and thinking about moving the flesh of the butt away from the low back. Do you think it's easier or less easier on the block to do the core?
Easier.
A lot of people think it's easier to keep neutral pelvis, right? But if you have a hard time keeping neutral pelvis, it can be harder, or if you have any back stuff, right? So we always start people on the floor, and then we elevate them to the block. I don't know if that makes sense. Do you mind passing me 2 more blocks? Thanks. So it's 6 movements, and we do them 6 times. You can do them 3 times. We're trying to keep a neutral pelvis. Sometimes I hold something here, and so some of us, I might put something here to hold, like a mini bolster, or you can hold like a green foamy or a block, right? So that's a good option. You can do a round holding here. We're gonna do 3 rounds. So the first one, we're gonna go up and down. So again, if you're working on finding the back body, you would bend your knee. And you keep that knee a little bit bent. You go up and down 6 times, so the left leg moved, and then the right leg moves. Right? Nothing else is moving. I've swapped it up, and then this guy stays straight, and then this guy comes up and down. Little mini micro bend. If I was Lara, it would be more than a mini micro bend. right? Because she's very good at straightening the front of her leg, right? But we want her to find the calf and the hamstring, right? And then here, I might want to move this, or it could just move itself. I go up and down, and this is where we really notice if this is shifting and we're honest with ourselves, right? So pay attention to your body, and hopefully you've done some of the prep work for most of us, right? And then the last movement is draw it to us and away. To us and away, and then we hold for a count or a breath. So it could be a 6 count or a 6 breath. And then we do a back bend, so we would start with little bridge always. Second round, we could do an urdhva. We always, because we hadn't really warmed up the wrist, so we would only do the urdhva if we were urdhva people, right? So if we were people that did a fair amount of urdhvas, then we would do a fingers out urdhva, right? So why do you think we do the back bend?
Because we just worked with our core.
Yeah. 6-pack is great, but if it's not a bendy, stretchy 6-pack, it's going to give you back pain, right? Okay, so then if we're getting good at this, so we're going to do 2 rounds, then we would find arms that are appropriate. So they might be Superman arms, they might be martini arms, they might be T arms, they might be halfway to a T arms, or they might be headstand arms, right? Or they might be pencha arms, like Urdhva Dhanurasana arms. But if we're not nailing it, we just keep the arms here, right? Because if we're not getting this is too much. Make sense?
Can I ask a quick question about the second one, when the leg is out and the thighs hugging in?
Yeah.
When we're lifting that leg up, is the knee stacked over the hip, or are we still hugging it in?
Good question.
Okay.
So it's to engage the hamstring, the thigh doesn't move. That's why I'm making you hold the block,
Yeah, okay.
right? So if I'm going like this,
Right. Right.
then I'm not actually learning how to pull this in and slide it down.
Right. Okay.
Sound good? Yeah. So we have 3 blocks. So let's get started. If you've never done this before, you don't practice this, or have not ever practiced this on a regular basis, then you can either do it on the floor if you've got a sensitive back, or you can just do it with a block with your arms beside you. But we're going to start the first round with the right leg in half wind remover. Those of us that are familiar with the series, we're going to put a block in that right hip flexor.
Block versus foamy versus dowels.
I would get blocks. Well, all are good, but that's what we're using today.
Right.
It's ignorant here. That was hard.
Sounds hard.
Yeah. Mini bolsters are good, but no one has a mini bolster at home. Except for me.
Thanks to my mom.
Nice. So right leg is going to go into half wind remover, and we're going to hold the block, and then the left heel floats and hovers. Make sure you're straight. Right leg isn't going to move at all. And then left leg is going to go up and down, up and down, up and down 6 times. And you're going to feel that back rib cage rooting. Did anybody lengthen their back body before they started? Yep. Do it. More. As much as possible. And then once you've gone up and down 6 times, you arrive with that heel hovering on the floor or anywhere in between. And then the right leg is going to straighten and bend without the thigh moving, even if it means that the leg doesn't straighten. Remember that left heel can always come down if it needs to. And then straighten and hold. So you're doing there and overshooting. Which is what we do in inversions, when we do pinches and stuff, right? Got it. Bend that knee a little bit. Nice. All right, so the right leg is straight now, or straight-ish, and the left leg is going to come up and down, up and down. You can bend one or both knees as much as you need to. You can rest whenever you need to. No shoulder heads lifting, no ribs popping. Once that's gone up and down 6 times, that leg is gonna hover. And then the right leg is gonna come down and up 6 times, and then it's gonna arrive down and hover. And then we're gonna bend the left leg to half wind maneuver and then straighten it to straight 6 times. And then we're gonna hold straight for either a 6 breath or a 6 count, whatever you fancy. So to the middle of the room, so this way, straight. 1, yeah, there you go. So this leg is staying straight, and this leg straight, bend, nope, straight. Bend, yeah, there you go. Exactly what you do to pinch up. This guy stays straight, this guy doesn't move. Yeah. And you can always do less. So now is that heel high enough? Is it as high as the other heel when you straighten? There you go, and I'm gonna let you go. Bend your knee if you need to. And then back bend. Start with a little bridge. And Kathy, let's go wider with those feet. Yeah, there we go, hips distance. And I'm gonna take outer thighs squeezing in, outer thighs squeezing in.
Michelle, it was 10 times harder with my knees.
Right? But the crazy thing is this, right, is it's harder now, right?
Before.
But it's gonna be so much easier later.
Yeah.
It's like giving, like say you're addicted to smoking. It's really hard when you give up smoking, but the long-term effects are so much easier. You feel so much better, and it's just a lot easier not to smoke and not feel like shit every day.
Yeah, and all my weak areas were actually doing something.
Exactly. And when everybody's working, the front set doesn't have to work so freaking hard. And
Yeah, it was
push.
all like
Yeah.
body shaking. It's great.
And then it becomes super easy.
I look forward to it.
Yeah. We don't want to work too hard. We want to work smart so that everything's working as opposed to just what we're good at, working so hard. So it's a 10 count here. I'm pretty sure we've all hit that. And then we're going to come down and we're going to do the other side. Lengthen, 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 lengthen. Okay, so if you're prepping for a headstand, do you want your body shortening on your neck? Arms roots, so now we're doing the left side, so left leg bends, ankle, knee, and hip in a nice straight line, think neutral pelvis, really observing if the weight comes onto the top of the block if you're using a block, really noticing if your rib cage pops. And then the right leg is going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, 5 times. And then when those, did I say 5 times? I meant 6 times. And when those 6 times are complete, then the left leg, so it comes down, it hovers, it doesn't overshoot, and then the opposite leg is going to straighten as much as it can without moving the thigh and bend 6 times. So it's 6 movements, 6 times. That's why it's called 6 and 6. It was originally 5 and 5, but that was not enough. Do you feel the weight's a little heavier on the right side of the pelvis?
This side?
Yeah.
It was maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so pull that
Ah.
femur in, pull your femur in, and that's exactly where you're twisting, right?
Oh.
There we go. And then we're gonna straighten that left leg to hold. So it's straight up in the air, like a kick. Yeah. And then the opposite leg is gonna go up and down, up and down. So it goes from one leg to the other leg, from one leg to the other leg. And then once that's gone up and down 6 times, then the other leg comes up and down 6 times with the right leg hovering, as close to hovering as we can. So the right leg comes down, it stays down. Right leg comes down, it stays down, and then the opposite leg goes up and down, up and down, up and down. So we're on the left leg going up and down. When that's gone up and down 6 times, then both legs are straight and hovering or on the floor, depending on what we're playing here. And then we bend the right knee and pull it into half wind remover, and then we straighten it. Right leg into half wind remover, straighten. Right leg into half wind remover, straighten 6 times. And then we hold straight and we hang out for as many breaths as we can, or 6 count. And then back bend of your choice. You could do a little bridge, or you could do an easy on the wrist or the, if that's a thing that you like to do. If you feel warmed up. And you're gonna hold your back bend for 10 breaths. So because you twist in the shoulders, we're gonna do a stick instead of blocks. Because if you do blocks, I know you're just gonna twist. Whereas this is gonna give you more feedback, right? And what I want you to feel is your shoulders even. Okay, that makes sense? Yeah. All right, so you can either just do it again, just like you did. If that was enough, I get it. If you want to make it a little more challenging, then you can add a prop. So Lara's gonna put 2 blocks in her hands, and if Martini's just out of this world, then you can do Superman.
I will try it.
Yeah.
I just make sure I'm not. Is that wide enough?
No, close though, and then really find your elbows. Yeah, there you go. Nice. And then see if you can find your fingertips of this side. Yeah, there we go. All right, so right leg's gonna be in half wind remover. And the left leg's gonna go up and down. If you wanna do 3 times, do 3 times.
Is it worth it, me coming out
Yeah,
so I can
I
see?
think it is. Use your peripheral vision, and you can also use your peripheral vision here.
Right.
And I want you to think of kettlebells in your armpits, and I want you to lift your shoulders up into those kettlebells, and I want you to notice when one shoulder drops.
Okay.
So your stuff is ribs and not twisting.
Well, and that fires up those ribs.
Yeah.
Actually.
Instantly, right? Yeah.
Do you do it with a block too?
What's that, darling?
I can do it with a block too.
Whatever. You have to stop asking if it's okay for you to modify, because you know, because it's always been the same answer, right? Always the same answer. You can just make your own decision on what's good for you.
Of course.
force, you can modify. And so his shoulders, lift him up. Yeah, there we go. So once the left leg goes up and down 6 times, then the right shin will straighten and bend for shin lift 6 times, and then the right leg will stay straight. Lift, lift, lift. Yeah, and so feel it in the shoulder. Because think if you're twisting that way, right? And if it's too much, too less, right? And now bend those knees once we find 160. Yeah, is that better? It's better, they're even now. So if this is happening, then we want to really think about them being even and just learning what it feels like for the shoulders to be even. This one can hug even more if it could. Yeah, there you go. And you go from one leg to the other leg. So once you've done your shin lifts, then the right leg is straight and then the left leg comes up and down 6 times. And then the left leg stays down and the right leg comes up and down. So this isn't one of the movements. What was the last movement you did?
I'm holding it straight out.
So you've done everything except for the last movement? Yeah, so then it's straight. Maybe you're just taking it easy on yourself and then you bend straight and bend straight. Tuck that chin, Natalia. There you go. Right. Working a little too hard, bend those knees. And see if you can do that. There we go, babe. So now, do you feel that this hand is lower?
I'm trying to lift
Yeah.
it.
There you go. There you go. And then back bend, and then do the other side. So your wrists are pretty warmed up. If you want to do a regular Rubin, you could. So, if you're coming up, let's get the scaffold in here, bring those hands towards my feet. You know how this is in a 90? Yeah, there you go. More power if you got a 90. That's pendulum too far. So then, really find the length in that back body here. So put, yeah, there we go. There we go. Nice. And then think of shooting these guys and feel with your peripheral vision which hand is wider. You got that more, not this one, you got it right. One more time with it in, towards your ear. There we go. Do you feel that? Mm-hmm. And so that'll turn up in your headstand, your pincher, right? It's in your dog, as we know, right? If there's too much salt in the soup, it's in every part of the soup. If there's too much sugar in the cake, although I don't know if that's possible, it's everywhere.
Michelle, do you think I should go backstage? And just
No, I think this is good feedback for you. As long as it's not working too hard, do you feel okay with it?
It's hard,
Yeah.
it's not too
Yeah.
hard.
I don't think it's too hard.
I just keep losing it, so I feel like I wanna keep trying, but.
Yeah. And it's info, right? And you'll go home and you'll work on it and, you know.
I will get it.
Yeah. So that is pretty tight on those feet, so you want to take them wider. Okay, hips distance. So that's a minimum 2 fists.
Okay.
For you. And that's the minimum. You can go shoulders distance too, which is wider, but it's a minimum hips distance.
Okay, so my tendency is
Narrow to probably, yeah, probably times
to twice, yeah.
Yeah, so just minimize it a little bit.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
So what we talked about in class yesterday is as things get harder, like we think we nail a habit, oh, in my Tadasana I'm doing perfect martini arms, right? But as soon as things get harder, whether it's like in the asana, all of a sudden those habits creep back in, and when we throw up our legs up the wall, which is a little harder, we can't do martini arms. We go upside down, all of a sudden those ribs that we've had nailed flat to the floor for years, now they're popping, right?
Michelle,
Yes.
how can I know when I'm ready to go on a walk?
Try it.
Okay.
Looks good to me. And then just bend your knees and be mellow, right?
Right,
Yeah. But did you do the other side already for second set? Because we're just doing 2 rounds. So are you on, you've only done 1.5 rounds, so you don't want to do 1.5 and then do it different, does that make sense?
I think I forgot the other side.
So we're gonna do the left side. Yeah. This has come really far. I believe you. I swear. There you go, Larry, you're nailing it. And a lot of that still probably goes back to the wrist, right?
Yeah,
You know?
well, I've always felt this asymmetry in the shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I'm like, oh, this side is more restricted, then when people look at me, they're like, no, this side is like, wait, that's the opposite. Like I feel there's lots of stuff going on in there that I just haven't.
It's so interesting because what we think and what is the reality is so often not the truth, right? Yeah, that's why we need our mirrors, right? We need our teachers, we need our friends, we need our community, we need our, whoever it is that's our mirror, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And then when you're done, you're just gonna lie flat on your back and you're gonna really breathe. Changed my mind, moving back mats, we need them. And then bend your knees, give your legs a little hug, rock as much as you need to be comfy, cozy. And then when you're ready, you're gonna roll off to the side, and we're gonna look at what's gonna happen next. So, we have a bath mat. Bath mats don't lie. We're getting a lot of twisting and a lot of shortening, and so we're gonna use a bath mat, and we're gonna use a wall. And so this is my imaginary wall. This is my bath mat. I'm gonna make sure that my bath mat and my block are straight with my wall. So that's the first thing. So you can see here my bath mat isn't 100% straight. So I'm gonna be really particular about that. Because what's the point of getting straight if you're not straight? Right? Okay, so this is my imaginary wall. I'm gonna come down into it. I'm gonna wiggle down. I love how Win always gets my sense of humor. Because not everyone does. My feet are at the wall. For some of us, we're gonna have to stay with a 90, right? Like our heels up, we're gonna dig our heels in. We're gonna find a 90, see how that's a 90-degree angle with my leg, right? For some of us, we're gonna have our feet together, pushing into the wall with our butt touching the wall, and that'll create stability. Or, as been mentioned, feet to hips distance apart is gonna make it easier. Some of us are gonna be able to pull the feet away from the wall and keep the butt on the block, okay? And then we're gonna do treats for traps.
So our sit bones are reaching to the block?
So ideally, we're gonna get our sit bones on the block if we can. And again, whatever is possible for you, right?
So not the
It's
sacrum, just
the sit bones. My
Okay.
sacrum and my entire spine is on a, what do you call the teeter totter? And so
Right.
I'm gonna see my habits really bloody quick. It's
I get
magical.
it.
And what I'm gonna see is if if one shoulder touches the ground and the other one doesn't. And I'm gonna see if one pelvis touches the ground and the other one doesn't.
So this is a block at the wall.
There's a block at the wall. So this is the wall, this is the block. For some of us, we're gonna be able to have our sit bones at the block, right? Some of us, maybe not so much. Stick is in the hip flexors, right? And for some of us, we got a 90-degree angle leg with super active feet. And for some of us, we can have a more bent leg. Some of us, we can take our feet off the wall occasionally, and that will be tricky.
Oh, yeah. I miss you too.
It's funny, Chelsea, because like every workshop you're in, she's always beside you. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, she would compare to her girlfriend.
She really misses you.
I've always taken it. And it's maybe just because Laura's not here.
What's that?
Because Laura's not here.
Yeah, I think she's there all the time. Tricky and awkward, I get it, but once you're there, it's got a lot to teach. So we're gonna take this, we're gonna lengthwise. So you see how yours is short, and I angled mine and I made it long. You're like, something isn't right here. And I know. And Kathy, you might be further away from the wall, right? You're only as close to the wall as is humanly possible for you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
Snuggle in.
And anytime you want to ditch anything, you ditch it. You're done with the back mat, it's too much work. Those are mini micro muscles that you don't use very often. Ditch it. You are your own boss. And if you overdo it, you only have you to blame. So stick in the hip flexors. If you're already there, I will pass you your stick. And then you're going to bend your knees. Start with a 90, knees and feet at hips distance apart. Heels at the wall, soles of the feet not at the wall. So for a 90, it's a little higher. Higher. Yeah, there we go. So you see that's a 90. So when I teach this in the middle of the room, I put 2 blocks under your feet so that your heels are digging into the blocks. And you really start to see which leg works more than the other. It's really cool.
So at the beginning of, or the middle of the room, the knees are stacked over the hips?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
With 90, okay.
With a 90, either on the floor or on 2 blocks at whatever height the student can hold.
Okay.
It's hard, right? Like
Yeah.
it's on the floor is obviously easier. Yeah. But you're digging your heels in and you're pulling your heels towards your butt and you're pushing your feet into an imaginary wall. And then you're going to take your hamstrings and you're going to think about physically sliding your hamstrings and injecting them into your butt cheeks. So let's be honest with ourselves, take a good look at our feet and ask ourselves, are my ankles level? Are my feet truly a hip's distance apart? So if it's hard, soles of feet at the wall. If you want more of a challenge, it's just heels at the wall. So that is wide. Yeah. And it's tricky, right? Because you're doing a shoulders distance, your hips are a little more narrow. I think you've got it now. Perfect. And then check out your knees. Are your knees tracking your ankles? Good. And so this is a really great place to start, and maybe we all stay here, or maybe we start to slide those heels down the wall without being wibbly wobbly. But first, let's put our hands behind the back of the skull. So we're going to interlace our fingers, right hand on top of left. We're going to straighten the arms first. Straighten the arms first, and then let's just bring the palms together, fingertips root into the backs of the hands, and let's do some arm push-ups here, moving those arm bones in and out of the shoulder sockets. And noticing when you take the arm bones out of the shoulder sockets how the shoulders lift, but if you do too much of a good thing, you can't move your neck. It's tension, extension, right? And then pull the arm bones all the way in, and notice how your shoulders wrap around the back mat. And that is no tension, but there's no muscles being used either, and nobody wants to do much lifting in life, let alone your entire body with your weight on your neck with that happening. So then you want to find just right for you. So take the arm bones, that place out of your body where the muscles are active, but you can easily shake your head for no, there's no tension in your trapezius muscles. Then we're going to bring the hands to the back of the skull like a pillow. We're going to pull the elbows in, and the elbows are going to be a shoulder's distance apart. And then we're going to do shoulder push-ups here. Okay, so pause before you start. Check the habit. So if you feel this shoulder, it's going to have to lift up a little bit to the sky. And then Chelsea, remember she said to not have the elbows too narrow. So go to 10 and a 10, right? And then pull the elbows apart, pull the elbows apart, pull the elbows apart, and then feel your back body and observe where you're twisting. There you go. Does that feel symmetrical to you?
It does, but I don't know if it actually is.
It's gosh darn close. Cool. Yeah. And then find extension, no tension. Think about a kettlebell in your armpit and lift your shoulder up over that kettlebell. Head pushes into hands, hands push into head. So we need your whole spine on that, so I'm going to get you another one. And then you're going to draw the elbows towards one another, and then you're going to take your elbows towards the floor. So neck. Yeah. So no wrinkles here. Right. Yeah, neutral neck. So as you come down, you're going to notice that it's really easy to let the shoulders drop. For today's purposes, don't let the shoulders come any closer to the floor on either side. Use your mind's eye and feel those shoulders and control how they move. We do not want them to move to the floor. We want them to lift up away from the floor as we engage the arm muscles. And sometimes we can let them move, right? Movement is great too, but we want them to be stable for a headstand. If you want to bend your knees more or bring your legs together or try and float your feet, all are good options. And then the elbows are going to be a shoulder's distance apart. We're going to reach the elbows away from the armpits. So you see that. And it's happening at the hip. So think of both sit bones. They don't have to touch, but think of both sit bones going to the wall, and then think about lengthening away from the hips. There you go. Tiny little circles one way. It's okay. It doesn't matter. If you can keep the shoulders gradually, those circles can get bigger. And like I said, sometimes we can just let those shoulders do whatever the hell they want and really go to the floor, and that's super therapeutic, and we get this amazing massage in our upper back, but it's different than trying to do a headstand. We're not trying to get a super amazing massage in our upper back for a headstand. We're trying to find stability. So let those circles get as big as you can.
So here, it's just the elbows and.
Yeah, so it's this.
Shoulder. Okay.
Yeah. And like I really sometimes just letting those shoulders go
I
is
see what you're
awesome,
saying.
right? So go crazy,
Yeah.
which is amazing, right?
Yeah.
But then control the shoulders as you do it,
Okay.
which is also effective. Both are good.
Good.
Doing both is good,
Yeah.
right? And both have a different purpose. One is to strengthen, one is to stretch. One is to stabilize, one is to get in there and get all those little muscles and stretch them out.
Right, okay.
It just depends on what we're doing. And then stop with the circles, and then change directions, nice and slow. Gradually letting those circles get bigger if that's appropriate. And then stopping with the circles, just for fun, we're gonna cross-country skis. We're gonna pull the right elbow into the right shoulder, left elbow going away, and then we're gonna take the right elbow away, left shoulder pulls in, or sorry, left femur pulls, not femur, femur skull pulls in. And so you're just moving those arm bones in and out of the shoulder sockets, keeping the neck neutral and keeping the elbows a shoulder's distance apart. So, let's take Chelsea's advice and find the stability here. So pull them apart. Yeah. And again, it's pendulum, right? You had to squeeze them in for so many years. You're really damn good at squeezing them in. So now we have to pull them apart now. And then hold neutral and just hang out. Shoulders hugging armpits, armpits hugging shoulders. Elbow creases moving towards the elbow caps. Elbow caps push back onto those elbow creases. Now see if you can find your wrist creases and take them to the floor as the wrist caps lift up. Even the wrists are lifting up. Then go down all of your fingers, find the crease pushing into the cap and the cap pushing into the crease. So you could think about a ball, the crease going into a glove, and the glove pushing back on that ball. The ball just doesn't go and the glove keep going. You can think of a light being plugged into a wall. The wall doesn't just keep going, the wall pushes back to the plug. We want the same thing if we want stability, if we want to be able to hold in our body. If we're going to push, we need to have a pull. If we're going to have a yin, we're going to have a yang. Try and take your feet off the wall, even if it's just one at a time. It's very humbling.
Whoa. Whoa.
Nice, Sarah. And the only thing that gets us closer to our goal is practice. No one was born balancing on a bath mat or doing a headstand without a twist, period. But some people work harder to get it than others, and that's totally cool. And then release, relax, take a little break. If you want to straighten your legs, straighten your legs. If you are super done with that bath mat, feel free to swap it out and ditch it. Got a little bit of time before we do the other side. And then when you're ready, come back into the legs. We're going to start by interlacing our fingers, left hand on top of right, and having the arms straight out over our chest. See if you can find your creases moving to your caps with those arms straight over your chest, including your fingers. And then think about the joints moving as opposed to the muscles. You're lifting the joints, you're lowering the joints. You're lifting the joints, you're lowering the joints. And then find that place of extension, no tension. Find all those creases moving to all those caps. Plug all those sockets in and have walls support those sockets. You got a front of your body, but you also have a back of your body. You got a future, but you have a past, and the past will inform the future, so you gotta get a grip on that. When you're ready, we're gonna bend the elbows, and we're gonna lift the elbows, we're gonna lift the wrists, and we're gonna keep moving at the joints as we bring our hands to the back of the skull. Elbows are shoulders distance apart. We find all of the back parts moving to all the front parts, and we find all the front parts pushing into all the back parts. So the cap of the joint is the back of the joint, and the crease of the joint is a belly. Naveen says it's like a turtle back and a turtle belly. And they have to push to one another to keep it together. And then let's start with some push-ups with the elbows, moving those elbows in and out of the shoulder socket, and just noticing how those shoulders move. Noticing what feels stable, noticing what feels unstable, noticing what causes tension. And then find your point of extension, no tension. See if you can keep all those joints plugged in. And then without changing the shoulders, without letting them go to the floor, you're going to exhale to bring the elbows to touch. You're going to inhale to bring the elbows to the floor. We're going to exhale to bring the elbows to touch, and we're going to inhale to bring the elbows to the floor. Know your habits, right? We didn't get red, but we know what our habits are. And your feet are hips distance apart, which is nice. You are not straight. You've got your, I think your back mat at an angle. Let's come out and fix it. Or your pelvis isn't quite on it. Let's keep.
It's interesting, I know I have scoliosis and I don't feel it.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
So you see that?
Yeah.
It's interesting, eh? And so the big one for you is getting the butt even. And then little baby circles around the joint without letting the shoulders come to the floor. Really can put one more. Because a big part of scoliosis and strengthening what we want to strengthen is getting the sit bones even, right? Or as even as we can be and having something to roll the butt into, so we have something to lengthen away through so that we can support that twist. It doesn't have to be straight, but we want to try and do our best. If you can, yeah. Thank you. So again, the circles can be as big as is appropriate for you, but making sure that we're not just staying inside the joint, making sure we're not just going wide on the joint, making sure we're not just going towards the butt, making sure we're not just going towards the crown, but it's even. And so the salt is right here, you see that? And that's why I would put you in a headstand for a while until we can nail that. And it's coming right from that hip, so this whole side needs to learn to lengthen. Yeah. And it won't take long because you've seen it, and if you do the work, it's going to even out. And I mean, who cares about a headstand? Look what you do for a living all the time, right? It's one side dominant. And so this and that stick work we do, joint stability, would be amazing for changing that. And then little circles the other way. See if you can find those floating ribs and really bring them to one another and feel that back rib cage really root. Really pulling the armpits away from the hip flexors. And then stopping with the circles, we're going to cross country ski a bit, and you're going to let your shoulder blades do whatever they want to do. And then you're going to find neutral, and you're going to really take the time to plug in all your joints. Move the bellies to the backs. And then you're going to tug of war the joints. They hold their own ground, but they pull away from one another. So elbow pulls away from armpit, wrist pulls away from elbow, but also elbow pulls away from elbow, but also elbow squeezes into elbow. Armpit pulls away from armpit, but outer armpit pulls towards outer armpit. Wrist pulls away from wrist. Then find those same joints of your legs, move the belly to the back. And then maybe you can hover your feet. Or just one foot. And then when you're done, you're done. Give those legs a little hug. And then when you're ready, you're gonna come off that height, just lie flat on your back for a minute and just physically feel your spine. And I keep saying this, but it's so true. We often don't feel our spines or our knees or our shoulders until they hurt. And so one of the big things that the sutras teach us is how to avoid the pains that are yet to come. How do we avoid the suffering that is yet to come? And so when we're looking at the back body, we're looking at history, and as we all know, we have habitual behaviors that lie in our DNA that we're just kind of born with, and it's our job to kind of shift through them so that we don't keep passing them on or having them affect the people we love. And so the spine's kind of the same, right? If we can be aware of the spine, if we can feel the spine, if we can know the habits of the spine, then, we can possibly avoid the pain that is yet to come. We know where the back is weak. We know when we feel like we've been twisted, maybe when we're driving and we turtleneck the whole time, we're like, oh, I feel my neck is turtleneck and I better fix that. I know that I feel twisted, oh right, I'm working at a new job and I'm always twisting to the right, I need to start twisting to the left. And then it just becomes this habit where we just keep self-adjusting constantly throughout the day, and we just become more and more, it's more and more common that we spend our time with a neutral spine and a supported spine. And everything, right? The elbows, the wrists, the fingers, the whatever it is. And if we can find more support for our joints and for our spine and for our body, then again, most likely, it's going to help us avoid some of the pain that is yet to come. And even when the pain comes, whether it's physical or emotional, we have more stability and strength to get through it. And so that's the whole philosophy of yoga, pretty much. Getting to know yourself, getting to know your habits, your mind, your tendencies, so that you can avoid suffering as much as possible, right? We're all going to suffer. The expectation that there's going to be no suffering, that we're all going to be in perfect health and nothing bad is ever going to happen is not correct. But if we can be strong and flexible, it's a little bit easier to roll with the punches, is the whole idea. Does anyone have another way of saying that is effective?
It's like building awareness between the mind and the body.
Exactly.
Building that connection.
And through that, we become aware of our emotions and our reactions and all of the things, right? Thanks, Chelsea. All right, so let's bend our knees, let's roll off. So we've done our little tests, right? So Lara had a really great question. How do I know? How do I know they're ready? I know they're ready because their elbows are even, right? Whether I've checked them with joint stability series, right? Or whether I've checked them with this kind of thing. What else can we check them in? Obviously pinch and prep.
Would you do like going across them to see if they could, is that a weird one too?
Well, this one, because they're not even, right? We're looking for even here. So this is really common, right? Or this, right? And so you're gonna get away with doing a headstand like this for a little bit of time, but I don't think that's the way you want to spend much of your life doing headstand, unless you have a permanent body structure that's always gonna be like that. You know, like if you have serious scoliosis, then that's just what your body is, right? Or if you've got a pelvis that is very different than everyone else's. Everyone's a little bit different, but there's some bodies that are just real different. And so then you would learn a different way to support that by putting a little height under that elbow, right? Or doing it with the shoulders on height, you know what I mean? You figure it out. So you'd still do it. I don't think we should avoid things because if we avoid them, it doesn't get any better. It just pops up when you don't want it to pop up, right? Keeps you from getting where you want to get to, which is stronger and healthier. All right, so let's look at another test, right, which is inversion prep. And so it's the same stuff that I'm looking for, and I'm also looking for the strength, and I'm also looking for the ability to walk in, right? So let's do some of the inversion prep. So when you're ready, let's use a stick, just because everyone today is really learning about their hip flexors. If it's hard for you to keep this, right, you haven't done as much work yet, then you can use a block, you can use another stick, you can use whatever you need. If you don't need the crutch, don't use it, right? If you've had a stressful day, and you know you usually have a hot bubble bath and a glass of wine on a stressful day, it's good not to always have a hot bath and a bubble bath and a glass of wine on a stressful day. I don't know if I said that right, but I think that makes sense. If something is a crutch, you really have to ask yourself, why am I always using a crutch? I don't need that bubble bath and a glass of wine. I can go for a walk in the forest and I can stand on my head, because often standing on your head is better than a bubble bath for stress. More times than not. Unless you've had a lot of standing on your head, and now it's time for a bubble bath. Which keeps your mind from thinking of the nasty thoughts, right? Alright, so we find our elbows right underneath our shoulders, our wrists in line with our elbows, push into our fingers, push into our palms. We do all the things, right? The first stage I like to do is inhale to slide forward and exhale to slide back. And this is a tricky one, keeping the stick. I understand that. Because we don't want to use our hamstrings. We don't want to go where we're not good at. We want to do what we're good at, right? It's just how we are. If we're good at taking bubble baths, then that's what we want to do. If we take too many bubble baths, we never do headstands, we don't really move forward. If we only do headstands and we don't take bubble baths, we got trouble, right? So that's stage one. Stage two, same, we take breaths in between, we come up, we walk it in, again, holding onto the stick. Stage three can be a leg lift. This is my favorite right here, is just holding this on one side and then holding this, right? And then we go just the thigh moves, and then just the calf moves. And then just the calf moves, and then just the thigh moves, and then just the calf moves. So this is final stage. Foot moves, right? Knee moves, ankle moves. But as we've learned, we're just moving one joint at a time. If I move all the joints, right? Like if I'm trying to do this and my shoulders are also moving, I lose the stability, right? If I'm trying to do this and my elbows are also moving, my wrists are moving, I lose the stability. So when we're moving our foot, if we want to stay stable, nothing else should move except for that one joint, right? When I move my thigh, I just think about moving my knee in space. That's hugely helpful because the joints are very heavy, okay? And they, if we can move them in unison, then it really helps. So those are all the stages, right? So we did forward and back, forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. Let's do that one first. So with or without extra props, stick in your hip flexors, find your hamstrings. You just warmed them up really good with the previous exercise. Child's pose whenever you need to child's pose. off my feet and if I lifted my legs, because I want to find that hip crease. So we got a lot of back bends going on here. Lift your belly, lift your ribs. So push down into those elbows, push down into those elbows, push down into those elbows. And then really think about lifting and lengthening this. There we go.
So how do I hold this deep without back?
You use your hamstrings. You think about your hamstrings. I'm going to use blocks. I'm going to bring your hamstrings towards your butt and then you lift them up. That's how you do it. And it is not easy if you don't have strong hamstrings. I totally understand it. And if it's impossible, then just stay on the floor and work that.
I just realized what you meant by that.
Yeah.
My hamstrings did it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know.
I know, it took you so long.
Oh my gosh,
It's practice, and you know what, you're not growing your hamstrings. It takes a lot of work to learn how to move your hamstrings. Lift, lift, lift. If we were all born moving our hamstrings, we would all be born doing headstands. Still keeping the ribs, still keeping the pelvis, all little deets. The rest in between, neutral neck is a nice rest. I always really like this one too, because it keeps that action of lifting the shoulders, but whatever child's pose you want, as long as it's restful. I like what Lara did, which was neutral neck, which is really relaxing for the shoulders, but it also, you see how it's keeping my crease calf connection? It's keeping me from valleying, and it's supporting a neutral neck, which is awesome for a headstand. And then when you're done, second round, with blocks or without blocks. This one you're just gonna lift up as much as you can. You're gonna keep your shoulders right over your elbows and you're gonna think a lot about moving your shoulders into the room and then you're gonna walk it in. Because we're prepping for headstand, we're gonna let our heads dangle totally long. Let's watch this from one elbow. You see how that guy's floating out? And look at you holding your stick.
I figured out the hand. It only took me like 4 years, but we're here.
So Charles, do you see the moving to the back body? And we'll show us how to do that later, but you see it there.
Yeah,
How she needs to come this way. Keep going, girl, keep going.
and so now we're holding the block and walking feet.
Yeah, and stick.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can do the leg lift if you want.
Okay.
So the leg lift, if you're doing the leg lift, you can do, we're doing the round separately. Remember, you're just gonna lift the foot and then hold here. And then you're just gonna lift the thigh and then you're gonna hold here. And then you're just gonna lift the shin and hold here. Some of us are gonna lift the leg, some of us are not gonna lift the leg. Right, like Kathy's getting a good work here, and we can see that she's creeping into internal rotation. So we're gonna give her 2 blocks, and she doesn't need to lift her feet. Oh, right? And we could make her lighter on the blocks, but I'm not gonna be mean.
Gradual.
She has a big day. So, do you feel how you're swaying towards wind? You gotta cha-ching everything to this side, other side, over here, bring it over here, bring it over here. So your shoulders are here and your pelvis is on this side. So let's bring that leg down and let's find you straight first. And so think of those Katona dogs, right? So think about your hamstrings, and then think about your hip bones rooting into the block. And then I do not want the pelvis to move towards Caitlin, and you're gonna lift this foot on this side, yeah. So you see how the pelvis wants to move towards Caitlin? So outer trochanter's lengthen and cross reference. So that's where those dogs are helpful. And then just the thighs will lift. Just the thighs, and that's okay. And then just the shin. Cross reference, so you don't go to Caitlin. There you go. See here. Yeah. Salt. Maybe just put a block. Can you do that once? I'm not sure. The green foamy, I think you put. And taking your rest in between. So let's everybody take a rest, and then we're gonna look at what happens next. All right, so Laura, can you put your mat in front of my mat? And then I want you to go into your pose over here. And it's neat because we saw her have it too much salt, right? And she's gonna do her best to fix it, which is amazing. But we need help from our friends sometimes. So Chelsea, what do you see?
Well, the elbows look great, and her left sit bone could balance with the right. It's a little bit lower, but it looks good now. And looks pretty good. I would say even, well, your right toe or your right sacrum, the right hip is a little further back behind you,
Yeah.
just a little bit of a twist, but other than that, I don't know.
It's the same stuff. She's got a twist. One side, she works harder on one side than the other, and she's not trusting herself to come back,
Okay.
right? She's also penduluming in her hands. Do you see how extreme that is? Do you see that she's really short? Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
There we go. And I would say just a tiny bit pull your elbows apart. Yeah, there we go. And so it's hard for her to get that because she's nervous, right? And so sometimes it's nice to just give our friends a little bit of help. And the whole thing's kind of leaning, right? Which is exactly what her headstand does, which is exactly what happens when she's doing all of the things. Okay, so I'm gonna put my feet on her back, like this, and I'm just gonna support her, and she's gonna push like Sunny down into me. There we go. Look at how strong she is. And like I have to dig in. Did you see her rise?
Yeah.
She has it, man. Untapped potential.
Oh my gosh.
Like I'm working as hard as I can. Oh, yes. There you go. Right? Sorry. That's okay. But did you see how everything straightened out and she popped and she was level and she was no longer twisting?
So is that also like an effort of like really connecting with the earth and getting that lift? Like never mind coming that way, but it's also like pressing down into gravity.
her elbows lifted.
Yeah,
Yeah, because she's good at going down,
Right.
right? She's quite good at rooting herself
Okay.
personally. Like she's worked on her feet and she's worked on finding ground, right? And her balance is really grown because she's worked so hard on it, right?
yeah.
And she's gotten really great at what she's great at, right? So now her work, I think, is to look at the things that are challenging her, like why are these things not easy? You know what I mean? Why is headstand still so hard, right? And so for her, it's, I have the exact same shit that I've worked on. And for me, it was like trust, right? And confidence. She's not confident that she has the muscles to keep herself there without falling over. You know what I mean? And that's just how life is for most of us, right? I've seen guys just fling themselves up and they have all the confidence in the world. We're girls, you know what I mean? And they just don't give a shit. But they've had a different history that gave them that confidence. Their past has influenced that, right? And then they often have to work a little bit on maybe less confidence. Not being so confident, right?
Right.
Yeah, maybe being a little bit more open to other people's opinions and interpretations of the facts. Whereas she's really easy to push over, just like I was, right? Less solid in her ground, but she's worked really hard on being solid in her ground. She's not a pushover, but now we just gotta make her more stable in her ground.
Right.
Does that make sense?
And coming forward, like coming back, like
Coming back, she has no problem moving forward.
Right.
She's a jet shooting forward, like,
Yeah.
right? Where is she shortening? In the back.
Right.
Where does she need to work? In the back. Because this is what's gonna inform everything here. She works too hard, you can tell just looking at her, she works too hard, right? And so, I get that because I work like crazy amounts, right? So what happens when I work too hard? I burn the hell out. It's a pendulum, do you know what I mean? You can't just keep pushing your edge 24/7.
Yeah, it's like one and the other. Can't have.
Totally, right? Like, and we all have our shit. And some people, you know what I mean, are really good at being in the middle on some things. I think we're all really good at being in the middle on some things. But we all have something in our lives that we could work on. And what I try and do personally, which I feel works best for me, is I just pick one thing. Like, I think of what I actually want to achieve in this year. You know what I mean? Like, what's the one freaking thing that's making me not who I want to be for whoever I want to be that, whether it's for myself or it's for my kids now, they're obviously really important to me, or Steven, I want to make his life as good as possible so that our life is as good as possible. So then I really self-evaluate, and for me, this is the season, the fall, is where you set yourself up for the spring. So, we're coming into winter, so we can, we're gathering our shit right now, we're taking information from the last year, where did I fall off the path? And then I'm gonna look at that now and I'm gonna assess it, like I think that this is a time of reflection, and then winter's a time of rest and to really think about your shit, right? Like this kind of stuff and like nidra, and then spring's the time to stop and go get it. Because no one is getting it for you, right? No one is gonna make her find her back for her. And it's more than in her back here in the pose, right? She has insane potential. I mean, she's a smart cookie, right? Like, yeah.
I have a question as far as where inversions go, and it may or may not be relevant, but what is the thing about having a head on the ground? Like, when you compare, like, for me personally, my practice with like headstand and then pincha and handstand, bringing my feet off the floor in pincha handstand is like, the headstand, I'm just like, I don't care, nope, feels good, feels fine. But then when the head's off the floor, it's like, why is that so scary?
Because that's
And
your
so
style
heavy
and
and
your
hard.
strengths and your weaknesses, right?
But just what's the difference with the head not on
Well,
the
for
ground?
you, point of contact with the earth is really important for your stability in what you're describing to me. You are so much better in pincha than you are in headstand, correct? And you just do totally different bodies and totally different things that are dictating your bodies and your confidence in both of those poses. And you probably don't practice pincha as much as you practice the shit to be good at headstand, honestly. Whereas she practices a lot more pincha than she does headstand.
I feel like headstand, first time I did it, it was just like, and obviously there's stuff to work out, but the balance was
Yeah.
there, but then Pincha's just like,
Well, Pinterest, yeah.
it's just bringing the feet, even just at the wall, with the wall there is like, get your feet to the wall, well, good luck with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing is like, you know, it's finding the balance, right? And so for you, opening that front side, moving into the future, picking it, right, is
Yeah,
what you need to work on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Heart opening!
Yeah.
Alright, so any other questions? Oh, we're gonna look at the hamstring one. I got some sidetracked. So same.
And so this technique with the partner is just to help strengthen and get the person activating where they need to go. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm being her mind.
Right.
I don't use a ton of physical contact, as you know, because I don't think you need it, and I think it's way better to create mind-body connection than to rely on an external source, right? I want to be able to call myself on my own shit eventually. I would like Stephen to not have to remind me about it because it really sucks when he's right all the time, right? You know, or my yoga teacher or whatever. Like I go to 2 yoga teachers right now for 2 different things, and they both teach me the same damn thing. Every single fucking time, they're both telling me the same thing. I need to swear less. That is something I need to work on. So I've just given her the front, right? So the back.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna give her, is this the front or the back?
Back.
This is the front. Oh. No, you're right, this is the back.
Like, oh.
Use blocks too.
I do, I'm gonna show that in a second. Yeah, I know she's good with it.
Yeah.
So, you're gonna find your armpits.
Blocks, honestly.
It's better with this, but I usually in a group class don't, and I know Lara's good with it. Like I know Lara real well, and she knows me real well. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna tell her to do what she just got taught,
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
and she doesn't even freaking need me, honestly. Yeah, because she's a really quick learner.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're able, and I'm just giving her a little bit of support for her to help feel those hamstrings, and then take a rest, because that's a long time. And then, so.
Oh, my wrists.
Bendy.
They change.
Yeah. So I often use blocks, like everyone's had me do blocks on them. I like both, honestly, right?
So
If
you put
I'm
the blocks on and then
yeah,
your
I'm gonna
feet
do
on
it
the
to
blocks?
you. No, just my
just your
hands.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's not
You're just
invasive
not physically
touching them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is true, like where studios or who the studio I work at has a no contact rule at all. I wonder if that's kind of maybe more of a trend.
I have tons of opinions on that, right? And I think that I don't believe in dropping yoga, so that's what I have to say about that personally.
That would be
And
just like anybody else.
yeah, there's a relationship, and there's a relationship that gets abused, and I really, in my teacher trainings, try to express how much relationships get abused. Like your homework over the summer, and like you've got videos you have to watch, like do not let anyone do anything that doesn't feel comfortable, and find your voice, right? I do also think that most people will not speak up unless they know you. Like, I think that a man will come, you know, I do because I've done it for years, and I literally don't want anyone touching my body unless it's like 3 people and that's it, right? Like, and every time I speak up in a room, and I mean, I've been all over the world, it is awkward.
Because you're the only one.
Well, yeah, because I'm the only one, and it's awkward, and like, people are attached to how they teach, and then there's this weird, and then they don't want to teach anymore, and it's separation, and you're the one that's speaking out. You know, I've been. Oh, for sure. And I mean, I speak out against what I think is wrong all the time because that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
And most people weren't, right? And so they want to speak it. And I got told off not that long ago by a woman because I was like, I'm never going to do that adjustment. Can you show me how to do it in a different way? That's not that, right? And it was a full on, it was ridiculous, right? Like what was going on there. And she told me off, like absolutely told me off. And so then I left, right? It was awkward, and like I tried to make her feel better about telling me off. Like, and it was uncomfortable for her. I get that. I wasn't saying you're not allowed to do that. I just said I'm never ever gonna do that. Like it was in a blouse. She had her hands on her ass, and she had her like tushy right over their face. Like, it was just so full on, and like so much ass grabbing. And if someone took a photo of a man doing that,
Yeah, inappropriate.
Totally inappropriate. So it is also inappropriate for a woman to do it. I am so
Yeah,
sorry.
totally.
Like there is no he, she bullshit.
Yeah.
And that was her argument. She's like, if I was a man, I would never do this. And I'm just going, what? So women are abusers?
Oh my
So
God.
women can't trigger trauma? Like
Yeah.
some people
Yeah.
can't not want a woman's hands all up in their body? Like give me a break, right? Like bullshit. And so after class, no one said anything. There was like 25 people in the room and it was so awkward and we had a little bit of a thing, right? And then after class, I would say 8 people approached me and backed me. And like I've done so much research on this shit and so many people have that same experience. When you're in a class, somebody says something, lots of people feel the same way, but they are afraid to speak up and support the person who's being brave. And the only thing you can do is be someone that supports someone or be someone that's brave. I don't blame any of those people. This woman was intense, right? And like it was an intense environment and blah, 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 right?
Just kind of going to like what Nicole's saying as far as like studios maybe shifting to like zero contact. I mean, I know even with like my students, in the studio that I am in Merit, they have like those little cards that you can use.
Yeah.
And one side is okay, one side is like, please no.
Yeah.
But I've also noticed some of my students that I've now taught for 3 years, it kind of depends on the day,
I feel the same.
right? So it's like zero tolerance is like, or zero, like not at all is kind of like one extreme, and then
Yeah.
it's like you've got to find that balance because like I know for me, even personally, I just, you know, sometimes some days when you're in your practice, you don't even want like a correction. You're just like, I'm just here. Like I just need it here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
And then other days you're like,
I'm
come
not
on,
gonna attention.
it's me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that that's the balance of like, yeah, knowing your students, right? And having that relationship is one thing, but then sometimes it's just that relationship doesn't even help,
It's a distance.
right?
And you know what I think, because I'm really researching this and I want us as a group when we go away to look into this and I've read so much about this, you know me when I'm in a rabbit hole. It's also not cool for someone who doesn't want to be touched to have to say I don't want to be touched.
Yeah.
So like what I'm thinking we're gonna do is we're gonna get really awesome painted rocks and if you want physical adjustments that day, you put a rock on your mat. But I also want to address what you said about days where you come into a yoga class where you don't want to be taught, right?
Yeah.
That teaches us so gosh darn much about ourselves because how we react. The teacher's no different, right? The teacher is allowed to be the teacher. You've paid money to go into a class to be taught,
Right.
right? Like I don't want to say suck it up because that's not politically
Right.
correct or whatever, but you have to own your shit sometimes,
Totally.
right? And you have to be responsible for your stuff. And if you don't want to be corrected and you don't want that person to do their damnedest to try and help you,
Yeah.
then don't go there that day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Go somewhere else, go to the river and do a forward fold or whatever it is you need to do,
Exactly.
right? But I think sometimes it's good, and I think often it's good on the days that we don't want to practice and we don't want to be called out on our shit, to get our ass to the mat and to do the work, because it is work,
Yeah.
right? It's hard, it is
Right.
not easy to change your habits, it is not easy to be in control of your emotions or your actions or your behavior.
Yeah.
It's not easy to change in any possible way.
Yeah.
You know, really, the real shit is really fucking hard.
Yeah.
So, oh,
I think
I'm
that's
gonna stay
really
home.
sad that that teacher is going around being like,
Yeah.
women can touch and men can't. Like it's not appropriate.
It's training and
Right.
it's her generation and it's what's changed her life and made her life
What
better,
generation of,
older than us,
okay.
and just not flexible, right? Like physically, mentally, emotionally, so not flexible. Some people are fundamentalists, right? And I love fundamentalists. I like to study with them, I like to see them, I like to I love the extremes. But I also don't want to live that life and I'm not gonna freaking agree with them and they're not gonna put that shit on me, right? Like you can do what you wanna do, but like, if you're, and I can also ask myself, in my role in that, right? For me, I felt I was okay asking because I was like, this is great, I'd love to do this, this was an option that's less intrusive.
Right.
Like I wasn't judging what anyone else was doing, I was just like, for me, that's not something I'm gonna do.
Right.
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 So, perhaps I was not an appropriate place to ask a question, I have to ask myself that. I'm okay with what I said, I feel it's okay to stand up for what you think and to also put it out there that maybe this is a little bit too much for a lot of people.
Right, and this isn't gonna work for me.
And this is what we've always done. Can we do something different? Toby did that exact adjustment for years. I used to post pictures before the whole Ashtanga thing, right? And I pissed a lot of people off. Remember I used to post pictures with Toby with his hand on women's vaginas.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Oh,
Yeah.
like literally they're in, you know when you do plow and you drop into ear pressure pose and your tushy is right up and he had his hand like, and there's so many pictures. And I would post them and I wouldn't be too argumentative, I was just posting them and you know, like, are you kidding me, right? And of course he was doing that in front of everybody's eyes, and of course he got away with it because that is our culture. We don't freaking say anything, and we're not willing to change.
Yeah.
If it's not working and we keep having this patriarchal bullshit happen, we actually need to change how we speak up, what we're willing to accept. We can't expect someone else to do it for us, and that's what I believe, and that's my passion. So obviously I'm a pendulum way over here.
And the less you say something, the more it's just gonna continue to happen.
Yeah.
Totally, like,
Yeah.
and you have to, but I think also you have to just be like, there's a balance of being open-minded
Mhm.
and like, and hearing other ideals, but then there's also that balance of standing firm in what feels like your values,
Yeah.
right, your beliefs and knowing
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah, that was like an interesting week, I'll tell you that much. Because, you know, there was definitely some different perspectives on the same things, right? And I'm a big privacy person, and I went right into the, you know, I didn't like chanting, so I did a 3-month chanting workshop course, every day freaking chanted, that's who I am. Because I wanna know why I don't like chanting, I wanna know what it's all about, like that's just who I am. I'm not gonna say I don't like chanting and think that I'm informed. I'm gonna dive into the deepest, most fundamental end of chanting that I possibly could find that felt safe. You know, I didn't go to a Kundalini camp in India where they were gonna, you know what I mean, shanti me, but like I found those kind of people I could, and that's who I am. I also found the most touchy-feely, I didn't even know they touched, but when I ended up there, I found the most touchy-feely group of people ever, and it was so interesting to learn their perspective. Did it change mine? No, because I am not as bendable and flexible and wishy-washy as I used to be. No one is gonna influence my core values. And if I feel like I want to share my core values, I feel that it's appropriate to do it, then I feel I can, I will. And it's going to piss people off. Because that is not their core value. And they're very attached to it because it helped them. But then there's different ways to help, you know? Like I teach that style of yoga, no hands-on, and people love it. Because they actually know how to do it in the end.
Yeah.
Because someone doing it for you doesn't work. I can't make you a yoga teacher. I can't make you have a yoga practice. That doesn't work. I've tried. I've given up. That ain't my shit. You know what I mean? Like if you want to do it, do it. I will help you as much as I can. And if you help yourself, I'm going to help you really as much as I can. You know, like I'm good for that. But I only have so much energy to give, right? And we have to choose our battles too. Especially as parents. OMG. Or colleagues, or partners, or whatever, all the things, all the relationships, all the Shivas and Rams. We gotta pick our battles, we gotta know when to send Hanuman, and we gotta know when to move ourselves. Alright, so let's go back to doing both of these at the same time. So, do you get the hamstring one with the blocks? You know how to do that, right? Sweet. So Chelsea's gonna be on the mat.
Can I ask just a question? Where does this thing, what's the deal with that?
So she used to internally rotate, right? And she's a pendulum, so she spends a lot of time externally rotating, and so now she's kind of no.
Okay.
It's not an elbow thing too, it's
Yeah.
easier to have
Okay.
And you gotta keep in mind, I'm like, everything's so flexible, I have to
Yeah.
control everything to make
Yeah.
anything happen, so
Okay.
there's always a weak link that I, or a new one.
I'm
A new one to-
I'm curious about why that.
She
Once I
just-
find out something
so
else
she
will
had to
change.
squeeze her elbows in for so long to be able to do a headstand, but now she ever does it. And
Right.
so what happens when I'm a pendulum too, right? Like I was bendy and I had copious amounts of pain. It's way easier to be tight, I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
See?
Okay, looking forward to it.
But that's not good for me to do, like it's good for me to do as an exercise, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like we're in internal rotation, which is the opposite of that. And it's great to like go to the edge, but it's not good to live in the edge, and it's not good to do headstand over and over and over again in the edge. You can see that that's not what my neck needs, when it's not supported. It's too much of a good thing.
I see.
Does that make sense? But that's not your stuff, that's her stuff, because she's done
Yeah, I was
this,
just curious.
Yeah, totally.
And I was like, should I be doing this too?
No, and I think, I didn't fix her, I made a suggestion and showed her where she's swinging too wide in her hands. And then she could see that tension that comes here on the outer wrist. And when you do too much, you hurt yourself, right? Like we all know, even just from our community, because it's a fishbowl where we can meet and it's not dropping, so we know each other, and we know who works too hard in teacher training, oh my god. And they're injured, right? Sometimes, not all the time, right? But like you can see when someone works and does too much or whatever, like we saw it in our teacher training, right? You always see it in a community, but you also see who doesn't work enough. And then you see the people in the middle. And it's just so much easier to be in the middle. Like it's just, life is easier when you're balanced. I don't know, maybe not, I don't know. There's a lot of people that disagree with that, right? Like there are a lot of extremists out there, and especially listening to some of those podcasts and stuff, like achieving your goals and, like I could try and be a celebrity yoga teacher. I've definitely been approached by agents and blah, 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 blah. But I also know my tendencies, right? And it's like, what do I actually really want? I am an introvert. I love being an introvert. I hate being a spotlight. It is so hard for me. I don't want to be the center of attention. I don't like pictures of me taken of myself. I do not want to travel the world and teach strangers in one city, you know what I mean? Like, why would I do that? Just because society says that's the goal I'm going for? Bullshit. I don't actually want that. I want a really nice, healthy family and life, and I want to go away occasionally with my family and have my friends come and do yoga with me, and that's wonderful, and that makes sense to me, and not burn myself out trying to do what everybody else thinks I should do, right? Because I know my habits. Believe me, I've done that a few times. All right, so Chelsea's here. So we're gonna see the two at the same time just for fun, and we're gonna go super mellow on her. So do you think you can give one or the other, right? But sometimes it's nice to get both at the same time. And this is just fun to see, right? No one's gonna be doing this. These two are gonna play on each other because they both teach and they're both used to this and they're both comfortable with these postures and they've done them for years. And so this is where they're at, right? Nobody else here is at that space, so I'm not gonna tell you to adjust someone when you don't know what the hell you're doing in the posture. All due respect, right? But these girls can both hold their headstands, they both taught groups of people, yada yada yada. They both know each other, they both know each other's bodies. All right, so I'm gonna put my feet here, and I'm just gonna give you a little support, and you're gonna push into me. Nice. And then Lara's gonna add.
Yeah.
There we go, see your eyes?
Wow.
Do you see how light that becomes, Chels?
Yes.
Just think like calf position a tiny bit if you can. Yeah. And then lift again, I bet you can.
There you go.
This has never felt like this before.
Is that enough pressure?
Again, you don't know what it's supposed to be like. But this is for Pincha.
Yeah.
It's light, right?
Yeah.
And so then we even find this, bend your knees and go right into my hand.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bend more if you can. Yeah. There you go. Bend it again.
There we go. Nice. And I'm working so she doesn't have to. I'm being her muscles that she doesn't like to use so that she can
There you
feel
go.
how easy
There you
it can be. Life does not have to be as hard as we make it.
Nice. There you go. Wow. That's sweet.
How does it feel for you, Chels?
This is amazing and new.
Yeah. And so the trick here is to give her a piece of information and then she can memorize it and then she can put it into her body. And that's where an assist or an adjustment is helpful.
I think I'm done.
And then nice rest. Oh. So you guys can work together on that. And everybody else, we're gonna do one more round of the prep just because we took a little break and then we're gonna look at our headstand options, okay? So just to reconnect with those muscles, one more pinch of prep. Any variation you want. If you think you're gonna do a leg lift today, then you're gonna do the leg lift variation. If you think you're gonna do just on your head with your feet on the ground, then do that and think of those connections of moving up in those directions. That's amazing. So, yeah.
I've never felt like that.
It's so nice. And then we do it with like the wall box poses too, which is really nice.
Yeah. It's weird how leaning into the back.
Yeah, then you can lengthen it.
So let's watch these guys, see their little line. You were getting so strong.
Right.
Which one do you want to try?
Is that,
Let's
pulling-
do the.
Yeah,
do
you
the
have to
flip
slow
one
back.
first. Yeah.
You have to bring them in to start with, right? So a little trick, right, is to flip them and then roll.
yeah, okay.
So you catch the flash.
Yeah.
So then you start a little arrow and then you roll down.
So before you.
And then so you're the opposite of that. You need to think of the stick between your elbows that you're squeezing. Does that make sense? And then start with your shoulders right over your elbows.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I ended up injuring my left shoulder.
Did you?
Okay,
Okay.
so it's kind of unique.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So there's
So
so
I'm
much
gonna give you your shoulders.
on the left all the time.
Side, okay.
And you're gonna push.
Yeah, I hear you.
You
I
push
should
into
not
me.
want to, so I can
You're
really.
gonna push as hard as you can into me. There you go.
And then, so the feet go here, is that right? Into the like the shoulder, thoracic areas.
And I think we'll bottom your butt and lift your butt straight up.
Yeah, kind of
And
where
your
your
hamstrings, because you're working head center,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
neutral neck. Neutral neck.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like 4 inches.
And then there you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna straighten her right on to shorten
Yeah,
it. Big time.
so get that left one in, or yeah, I just
Me
need
too,
to
yes,
see,
it
it's
is
not
not
big, is it much?
I was slide with you.
Okay.
So you know your stuff, right? The shortening. It's like this side generally, right?
They do look a lot better.
So let's think about the armpits moving into the shoulders. There you go. And then walk into it and lift those hip flexors.
It's so weird how my elbows want to just pop right up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put this here.
It's forcing me to find
And I'm
it.
gonna do this, you're gonna push into me. You're gonna push into me, you're gonna find your armpits and your shoulders and your ribs, you're gonna push into me. Keep pushing, and then get that so as hard as you can.
Yeah.
Now this side, lift and lengthen. This side. Hip flexor away from armpit and keep moving your armpits into me. So you see the difference, you have to work so hard with her, but she's so strong. With you, I was working really hard, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna come down. So now you're level.
Can I just say a little?
So you just need to find that visual in your head.
Are you dropping it?
No.
Alright, so I'm gonna give you one of these two. Say what one of this.
So much strength, girl.
Oh, I can just find myself.
You got it.
You got it. It is all you.
It is her, I know. Someone just needs to tell her it's there.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm gonna put my feet here. So now you're gonna take your shoulders
Ready?
back to start, just over your elbows, good.
Good.
Breathe in.
I swear I could say that all day. It feels like a scholarship.
Okay, so we push, there you go, you got this, good.
And that,
You're good, just keep pushing. Now what's your tendency?
holy moly.
What's happening with your neck? Push yours closer.
That's almost too much.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's better.
Yeah.
Now, feel
Yeah.
your hips, which hip is lower, lengthen that.
Those are the top.
So now, think about lengthening your hamstrings and
It's
lifting
like so much easier to
up
hold
your
it
sit
with the.
With that there.
So which side are you shortening?
It's,
Opposite, there you go.
I think that's really, I think too, like that's what I was
So put
asking.
one foot here,
Grounding
and
down.
then one foot here, and I want you to root into me.
Connect to the earth, you're
There you
doing
go.
something.
Yeah.
You find
Lift the
that.
side that's shortening, other side.
So how do you find that when you, there's something there?
And then I'll let you
You
go, you're
have
after
to
that.
basically imagine that I'm touching something on every surface to
Right.
reach up.
Right.
Alright, which one do you want to try?
Okay. Let's, I would like to try the
Just that one?
the hamstring one again, because I feel like that's hard for me to find.
Sounds good.
On my own, especially.
So you'll take a rest and I'm gonna take your shoulders for you. Caitlin, you ready to do one more?
Because I find too, like I couldn't imagine, I couldn't believe how much I was able to lift there.
Yeah, just, and you kept going, and then more, like, you bend your knees more than you think possible, and then
And then over.
it'll come even more. It's
Alright,
So you're gonna bring into me. And then you're gonna push into me. There we go. Oh, I need a mat. So hold on. Or push in. Hold on.
And then bend to lift. There you go.
Alright, so when you're ready,
Just keep it tiny bending. Yeah, that's it. Nice.
good, nice.
Good.
Yeah, think about
No
just
worries.
it's hard.
It's
It's
hard.
your body.
I
And
feel you.
and
Strong.
straight up.
Just like,
Straight up. But it's close to
Because I was
that.
born in a wet noodle
Lift
before
it
I
again. There you go, right there. There you go. Lift it again.
Don't really do like basic things.
Yeah.
That really works for you.
Yeah. I think that that's really interesting.
You're really making me work. I should.
I'm like kind of thinking like, how do we do that?
But I'm done.
You want to like this. And it helps you find it better.
Okay,
She's
that's
got
what
a
you're
video,
talking
you have
about.
to find that video. You will get it.
You're doing the wall with the feet on the wall and you said the
And
wall.
the heels on the socks, that one helped me find that connection so much.
It's a good one.
Yeah, there's a video that I'll make second post.
Yeah.
It's super good. If you remember that.
All right.
Extra bands.
Alright, so you wanna do it tweet?
Do you wanna do that block one or the back one?
Either.
Alright, so let's look at our headstand options. Are you guys done for that?
Yeah.
Cool. Alright, so let's look at our headstand options. I think everyone except for Kathy's done heads free headstand, right?
Yeah.
You haven't done it. You've never done heads, that's a perfect one for you. This works really good for you, but then that's a nice one for you to play with. So someone in teacher training is gonna set Kathy and Natalia up. Who wants to volunteer?
you're gonna check it before they go up.
Of course.
Yes, I will volunteer.
Okay, so who else volunteer? Who else is gonna volunteer?
Heads free?
Yeah, heads free.
I can try.
Yeah, so neither of you are gonna do it. Alright? First times we have to do it wrong in order to get it right, right? Yes.
The block version?
Yeah, you can do either version that you want. Okay,
I think
so
she says this version, I think.
what do you think? So we talked about
Yeah,
Lara
it's
at
super
the wall.
easy.
What do you think, both of you? Do you think you would do Lara at the wall?
Have you done this at all before?
I don't think so.
In headstand?
I'm totally like it.
I
I'll figure it out, can I?
Yeah, do
Okay.
Well, what about headstands where you come up and your feet are at the wall?
Great option. Yeah. Oh, and I'm also gonna add some blocks. So, and it's gonna take me a minute, because I haven't done this for a set.
Yeah.
We'll see, I'm just gonna do myself, and then we'll see. So regular headstand, you guys comes in, with this right here.
That is really
And then
fun.
we'll add more blocks if we want.
So essentially, this is just gonna pick up the top usually, it's not used to very nice
So
little
those group,
Thank
for today, we're gonna dig her heels in, and then find the line knees. And then we're gonna stack it up into her pelvis.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So we need a big stack of blocks, Chelsea, you guys like a big stack of blocks?
On the stools.
Not quite, but help her, can you guys help her? Can you get stuck?
Totally blanking.
It's okay, can you go over 7 blocks? Sure. Are we totally lost? I mean, does anyone, do you know it?
I do.
Yeah, so then you do it. Do you know it?
I think it's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We use.
This-
I don't, there's a way to block, I don't remember.
Is it
it.
more fun?
You know the blocks,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, we do. So this way.
Wasn't this right? Okay.
Yeah.
So.
The first one is the way I was looking.
Shoulders. Okay, so what would you like? We'll do 2 or 3 blocks like that. So your head doesn't touch.
Is it harder on
Yeah, I just want to see this.
Yeah.
And then
Okay,
match
that's
this
shoulders,
way.
right. In the
So you need
middle.
another mat and you want to
So
see
my
my
hands
hands.
go
Oh yeah, so that's pretty much to your tailbone.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah, so remember we were doing pincher prep and you have.
Oh, I see, okay.
I'm not sure if I should wait or not. Yeah, let's check it out.
It's funny, this
is what you have access to.
So I'm allergic to what's ever in that, so I don't touch those.
And they have different effects. right? Like it's definitely a different effect. But also we have access to, I think on chairs, whatever you got. Chairs is nice, but most people are scared of chairs. So I'm gonna come back in a sec and let's just let this. So it's awesome, that's what you want.
And so, are you?
I'm gonna say like do
Coming
this.
this close to
Right
that?
Okay, how to be higher.
And it's gonna feel wobbly, right? So in your power to pull those up.
So I usually.
And Chelsea's gonna do this for you, and I'm gonna too. So head comes right in.
Nice.
Okay.
So that
close
to get that to the width of your shoulders, but I've never.
And Emily's different, so we have to adjust it for her.
I'm just like.
My elbows seem wide now, they seem so
Right,
wide.
they do.
Yeah,
So that's,
How does it feel?
It feels too wide.
The elbows are good, how does the back feel?
So the.
Too short.
I've done this.
It should be like an inch more.
So you wanna line it up so.
Because then I was like,
And I'm gonna
wow.
go.
Yeah, it's very like longer, so you're
And
here.
then when you're ready, you want to lift those up, if you like your little hinge.
Oh, is this your?
Just need some support your
There we go.
shoulder.
So I'll just.
Tired.
So have it on, right, so your friend, so there it is.
Maybe you're so. I want to.
Hip flexors go up,
Leaving
okay?
myself.
That's okay, you can put your hands, you can just keep pressing the way, you can put your hands.
The most.
Can you do this tension hands, how does it feel?
So that you.
Like you put
I
on
know it's kind of like.
pinch
How's that
right
Come down slowly.
That's what I meant.
The thing
You
about
got
your
your
shoulders
shoulders
together.
Grabbing here.
Oh.
And
Oh, there's
then,
practice.
but we'll wait for Michelle.
Just get a little break for this.
I think, I imagine.
So number one rule, okay, so what's the first thing you're gonna say? Where do we not want the weight? On your knee.
Maybe having your.
True, that's a good point, yes, and where's the other place you don't want the weight? And you don't answer, somebody else answer.
Oh, okay.
Collarbones, right? So person has to know where their collarbones are, have you taught where their collarbones are? Okay, so the first thing you do, where are your collarbones? And I want you to feel your entire collarbone, all the way up.
And
Feel it?
like the stacking.
It can touch your collarbones, but we do not have
Or like
weight
this
on the
almost.
collarbones, right? We want the weight to be
Yeah.
here. Okay?
And I'll.
You're gonna see.
This time. You're gonna see so that they don't mess
So
around.
then she's gonna come down, right? She's gonna feel the weight even in her shoulders. Where do your hands go? Has someone demoed this to her?
Yeah, there you go.
Has anyone done this yet?
You're just lining it up.
Take it off. So have you ever seen me teach this without demoing it? And again, this is just learning. This is not personal, right? So we demo everything when someone has not done it because she has no effing idea.
Yeah.
And you're asking people upside down for the first time ever, right? So she's gonna feel it. You girls might wanna come, well, you're good actually, you'll know how to teach this. So I like these quite snug for someone who's new, right? Because it doesn't move as much and it's really less.
I think that the
If
one
it's
by
out here, it moves a
is
bit more and it's,
doing
you've got this gap and it's actually scary.
distractions and
anything.
anything and.
And so when I hold here and I think of my pinch arms, I think all the stuff that I learned,
Yeah.
right? And I take all of those
Yeah.
connections into this posture. I'm gonna hold on, and then I'm just gonna feel my shoulders. Does that feel even, is it closer on one side than the other, right? And then I'm gonna come down, I'm gonna keep my elbows, I'm gonna lift my knees,
But I think
and
that's what
I'm
she's
gonna walk
trying
it
to
in,
do.
and the weight's gonna be on my shoulders. And then I'm just gonna hang out here for that 20 minutes. My elbows are not doing really wobbly, I'm gonna walk it in, and then I'm gonna slowly raise off this.
She did say that that was.
So you try it
Is
on
that
one
maybe can find elbows with that proper.
and let's set her up on those, if you don't mind.
Nice.
Find your elbows. Yep. Now find extension, no tension. Tuck your toes and lift up.
Nice.
Just gonna lift those knees. Nice. Then you're gonna walk it in. Bend your
On
knees.
left side.
Lift your sit bones, walk
Yeah.
it in. Now push your shoulders in. Do you think she should go up?
And if you can, just a touch.
Of course not. It's really simple.
Tiny,
Just
tiny
do
bit,
that.
not too.
This is great
Yeah.
for her, but I wouldn't do
Yeah.
long holds.
Perfect.
So she's gonna come down, she's gonna take a rest. So different story, right? But let's do it on the same, because this is harder. And so I need another mat. Does that feel like the right setup for you, Lara?
We took the one away from the sacrum.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah, and her wrists need to come forward.
Yeah.
And then hug those shoulders.
Is this going to be easier because
And that left shoulder.
What's
Tighten
that?
it.
easier because it's softer?
Yeah.
They're bigger, it's
Okay.
more space for you to come up on, right? And she's broader in the shoulders and chest and stuff, so it's just gonna be mentally easier.
Yeah, just curious.
I'd like
It's
people
just
to go into
mentally
like
easier.
too,
This
rather
is
than
so
on the
much
streets
easier.
on the floor.
Yeah, that space, cause your sacrum when you're new goes really far back to come up, so it's just easier for so many ways, right? So you can do it again if you want, and I'm gonna talk you both through it, right? Do you want another demo or are you feeling good? Okay, you know where your knuckles are, you know where your shoulders are. This is where the weight is, okay? So grab onto your shoulders. Put your shoulders on your green foamies. Tuck your toes and come in. And you're not memorizing this to teach this, you're memorizing this so you can do it. And then you're gonna walk it in.
You teach this.
Bend your knees, walk it in, walk it in, walk it in, walk it in. And then you're gonna think 6 and 6, you're gonna lift one leg, bend knee, lift your thigh, and then you're gonna take your heel to the wall, and then you're gonna lift your other heel to the wall. There you go. And then tuck your chin so there's no wrinkles in the back of the neck, which is exactly what you're doing in your core.
Nice.
And that's enough for you, Kathy. Come down, take a little rest. So a minute max, because we don't know what her blood pressure's like. What does she need to do right now? Yeah, and she never make that mistake again. And her max a minute too, right? Because this is new for her. So she's gonna bend her knees. And what happens to people too, not even with blood pressure.
Like one at a time?
Yeah, one at a time, and then you're gonna really listen to my words. So both heels at the wall, bend both knees. You're gonna push one foot into the wall like the son of a gun, and then you're gonna take the other foot away from the wall. So this foot, just keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, and then right into child's pose.
Nice.
And most people come out with 2 legs, right? It's a fear thing, and they're like, I can't, whatever. And then if you do that too much, then you're jamming, and your knee will get pissed off. It's the same with pinches and stuff like that. If you're just constantly jamming, it's pointless because then your knee gets pissed.
And your shoulders are supported there, so like you never know how your shoulders are gonna roll out of that if both feet come down together, right?
Totally true. Totally true. And then they both take a rest, and then they can both try again. So let's start with that. Everybody set themselves up. If you feel like you need a spot, I'm here to spot, right? If you feel like you don't need a spot, then don't use a spot. So,
And shall we turn?
with this, what I find, and we'll see if we can get it onto the sacrum.
Never mind, returning 3 blocks.
It just, and again, the odds of holding it without the wall they're doable, but it's really slim, right? Because it's giving you so much feedback. But see if you can put one not at widest width, but at medium width behind my butt.
Oh, I see.
Because both Lara and I have a big butt. I should have said that, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay, it's true.
We have tushies. Well, I really love the Kardashians who made it cool.
No, like if you want,
Like, great one, Kardashians, what's that?
if you can bend your knees and bring your feet to the wall and maybe be able to get it. There.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Twist of the monitor. Can you get that?
There you go.
And again, these are places where it's good to have a friend.
Yeah.
And you could build it up to however you needed to build it up.
And so eventually holding the ankles right over the hips, like stacking.
Did you see what that did to my neck and my shoulders? I could have shook my head, I could have
Right.
given directions, there's just no weight on the neck, okay? It's
Yeah.
tricky with this one too, but you still get the connection.
The thing that I was missing when I had my fingers interlaced is that, or not interlaced, but I was all the way between my elbows, losing my wrists.
Yes, and it's tricky because it's there, so you might find this is a better option.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You'll play with it. This might be a better option, but with you watching, it's not this. You see those wrinkles?
I can see this being really good, but it just, I guess I'm weak still there, so much so that it's hard to keep it.
Totally. Then you adjust it, and then you find a way that it
Try
works.
like
I'll probably just hold it with my feet down for a while.
So now you do it, and then she
Okay.
does it, and then you do it, and then she does it.
So I've done it 3 times, so now
Yeah.
here's your name.
Deal.
Alright. Which way do you go, which side do you want to use?
Um,
You might not need this.
No.
I
Always
think
modify,
I
always
lift
do what you need to do, be healthy.
Let's lift
I
the
don't
right
remember.
foot first.
Like
Right,
this.
yeah, we're right there,
Let's
so
take it when you're there.
Like,
So Natalia, do you feel a little twist in your pelvis?
Every time, don't rush.
Opposite. The pelvis that's closest to Kathy goes to the wall. Yeah. Crazy, hey?
Okay, there.
I'm like,
So,
I don't wanna grab my fingers and bring my head to the floor.
right, as soon as you're upside down, everything goes on, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it funny?
This is cool. Okay.
And then
Oh,
try to
right.
bend your knees sometimes, your hamstring a little bit.
It really shows us how much we cheat. And it's okay to cheat, but we want to know what straight is, right? It's okay not to be straight, shells. So you're gonna root those shoulders down. I could put your hands on blocks, but I feel like you'd have more
Your butt's a
stability.
lot smaller than mine is.
Yes,
Really good, awesome.
Do I have to have my feet at
I
the
think
wall?
it's okay.
No, you don't have to have anything at the wall if it's feeling stable. Really find your ribs. Look at you headstanding, Nicole.
It's happening.
I wanna get a picture of your mama.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Look at you go. She's gonna be like, what a difference a week makes.
Try squeezing in just a tiny bit. Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You got it.
Interesting feedback, hey Chels?
I think that is, I've never felt that,
Feel your elbows.
that connection of rooting back there.
Especially this one. Yours are even, get better.
And you're right, Michelle, when you find that and you root into it, you are like weightless on the
Yeah.
floor.
It's really neat, hey? Well, and we
Yeah,
can
you try
track
not to
that.
as much. Your pelvis went so much higher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then you don't need your head on the floor.
Right. Yeah, like it's not there,
Yeah.
but yeah, okay.
Could you also remind me how long the rest period is? Is it 30
That's a good question. Did everyone hear Nicole's question?
No.
How long do I rest after taking a headstand? Anybody but you two? Anybody got that answer?
Same amount of time as it
Exactamundo.
Perfect.
Until you're doing it for 20 minutes, and even then I do a ridiculous long rest.
will be yourselves.
There you go.
You can try
Your
to-
elbow.
Yeah.
So remember, are we holding more than a minute? Just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Like I eventually would.
So no holds more than a minute. What's a minute? 10, 15 breaths.
Yeah.
The finger. A bit stronger.
And so once we're confident, like using the wall, take your body away from the wall, not your legs. And so generally when we teach people, they start with their shoulders really close to the wall because it's less scary, and then they come up middle of the road, and then they hit the wall, but then they come away from the wall, and then this time they come up the road and they don't hit the wall.
Okay.
And then find those hamstrings.
So now one pendulum. Bend your knees and move your knees into space. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Ah.
So with her, she finds
that.
she needs to find one piece at a time, right, to get her confidence there. So we could put it, you hold her there. So again, we just have to think, what does she need? It's not what I need necessarily, it's what she needs.
Nice.
And she hates me, but she loves me. And then she loses, she gets one, she loses this, right?
Feel that block on your back.
Yeah.
Yes.
And because this is so damn hard, she's never gonna pendulum again. And no twist, and then just move. She's got your blocks, I want you to move your calves to your shins.
Good.
Out your thighs moving. Straighten out your legs by moving your calves to your shins. Move your ankles to me. Don't move your thighs away from my fingers. Don't let the front body take over.
Good.
Is that
Yeah.
okay.
Very nice. So she pushes so hard back with
Yeah.
those quads. She's so damn strong.
Superhuman strong.
Alright, so let's hit child's pose in the next few breaths. Chelsea, you need another go to be even. If you wanna do one more round, you can, but do a short round and then be done.
Take your time, no rush.
So it's harder on here because of the space, the length of these, right? So when we're first doing it, we just snug at the wall because that's where we feel safe. Somebody has our back. The wall has our back, right? Because we're a little bit nervous. And so eventually we don't want to have that crutch because we don't have that crutch in the middle of the room. So we want to mimic the crutch without having the crutch, even though the crutch is there.
Right, sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And so then we start sort of more in the middle.
Okay.
Honestly, here I find if you're confident enough to take them a little bit away from the wall,
Yeah, I feel kind of like I want to explore that.
yeah, I like that. And I wouldn't do that for everyone, and I didn't take that for yours because I'm a little cautious, but this isn't like a uniform look, it's a movement, right? These are solid.
Yeah.
Right, you could also do strips of blocks coming out if you wanted to, right? But then that's tricky with the arms. So then I'm in the middle as opposed to the back, and then I can come up either with or without the wall, and that's where I learn to find my confidence. I know that the wall is there, I know the wall has my back, so I can sort of get over my fear knowing it's there.
And you could have had your heels at the wall.
I could have had anything I wanted with the wall, and I know it's there.
Cool.
Thank you. You're welcome. So let's find those feet for me, Lisa. Yeah. So now big toe mounds up, baby toe mounds down. You feel how they're more balanced? Good. Now feel your elbows. Do you feel the difference? So one elbow is pulling into your chest, like really into the center, which is causing that ear to go towards the blocks.
And think about your right
Yeah. So the elbow on this side needs to go to Caleb. There you go. One more time.
It's happening.
So this in front of the mirror for you would teach you a lot about your habits. It's big mirror. You don't have one, so look under the counter for it. You get one, so you get one today. Yes! Thank you for getting one. Now see if you can find those feet.
Tell me when you're ready.
Yeah, good.
I think I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanna leave it this
So
one?
you need to twist a little bit that way.
Got it. Sweet.
Awesome. I'm gonna get another picture that's like this. Look at that.
Look at her go.
What chummy too.
Sweet.
Very nice, Nicole.
This feels so good.
And then we're gonna finish with a nice long child's pose. So just because it feels good, right? Like a bottle of scotch on Friday night, doesn't mean you drink the whole thing. Right? 1 minute, be honest with yourself.
And if you do, you only do that one.
Unless you're me. Or Christian. Oh, I've really learned it this time. I really have. Never done a whole bottle yet.
That would be a feat.
Yeah. It's really funny too. Stephen tells a really funny story. Stephen is not a drinker at all. I've never seen Stephen drunk. And it's crazy, but like sometimes when we have stresses that we don't know how to manage, we sometimes take on other people's bad habits. And the only time he's ever gotten drunk is when he lost his really good friend and his mentor. And it was a shocking death, which are, in my opinion, the worst deaths because you don't have time to prepare, especially when it's someone who's really young. And it really affects you. And so he took a bottle of vodka and he just didn't know how to deal with the pain. He drank the whole thing. And then he realized when he had done, he just needed to numb the pain. I can't remember if he had to go to his stomach pump or if he pumped his stomach himself, but you know, like, so it's not even our bad habits we have to worry about. It's picking up other people's when we're, you know, having a struggle. So let's add a little mantra here. Let's exhale out whatever habit we no longer need, and let's inhale in the opposite. exhale out what no longer serves you, and then inhale in the opposite. And I like that, but something that I've been working on lately, which I find like works better for me, is doing action reaction. So I breathe in the action, and instead of exhaling out the negative, I exhale out the reaction. So say I want to be a yoga teacher and I'm having a hard time practicing, I inhale in, I practice yoga 5 times a week, or I have a regular yoga practice, and then I exhale out, I am a successful yoga teacher. I inhale in what I have to do, the action, and then I exhale out what that action will create. Either is great. Let's take 10 more breaths here, really sticking with that mantra for every single one of those 10 breaths. And then hands underneath the shoulders, pushing yourself up. So one of the secrets to learning is to try, right? If you've only seen this once and you never did it again, right? You never tried to do it again, what are the odds that we're gonna remember it, right? If you see it once and within a short period of time, you try it, what are your odds of knowing at least some of it, right? Gosh darn good, right? Like, no one shows me, if I go to New York, I don't get to see everything 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. They don't give me a video. But I go to New York to learn stuff, so I'm gonna learn it, right? I paid all that money to get there. So I do it, right? And I do it a lot. And then I have it, I own it, I've earned it. And then I change it. Once I own it, I earn it, I know it. Then I think, oh, well, this would work better for me like this, and I think this would work better for Caitlin like this, and I think this would work better for her like that, because I know it really, really well. And the only way we can know something is when we do it repeatedly, over and over and over, and we learn from our mistakes, right? So if I teach you a series and you don't go home and do it on your own without me telling you what to do, or you don't at least do a video and then try and do it on your own, then you don't ever own it, right? And then you can't build on it, and then you can't create it, and then you can't make it your own, and then you can't incorporate it into what works better for you. And so there's gotta be a shift if we wanna learn how to teach. Because if we don't own it, we can't share it, really. If we don't practice, where's the integrity in telling someone else to do yoga? What is the definition of integrity? It's when what you say and what you do are in alignment, right? So if you're not doing it, you're telling someone else to do it, right? What message are you putting out there? So, if we want to continue to work on this, because this is something that we should understand and know and incorporate into our practice, do it now. Like if this is the best piece of the puzzle for you, If you own this and you know this, then let's move on, right? So moving on is grabbing your elbows, interlacing your fingers, bringing the back of the skull in, knowing your habits, finding all your connections, lifting up, walking it in. So it's really hard for me to walk it in like this, right? I'm bendy, so I can. But I've worked really hard for that. So let's bend our knees, let's lift our hip flexors, and most people are able to walk it in with a 90-degree angle. It's a lot easier to do this than it is to do this, right? So walk it in as much as you can, bend your knees, lift one leg, lift the other leg, or just stay with your feet on the ground. But we all feel when we do this, right? When we do this. We all physically feel that. Like, no one can tell me they don't feel this, really. Like, we've done so much work to feel this. Do you really honestly want to do a headstand like this? No. So don't do it, right? So stay here, find this. If you can keep this, walk in. Next stage would be with a teacher, one foot, other foot. Because as soon as you find 6 of this and you try and add half a dozen of this, you lose 6 of this when you're new to it. So you need someone saying, don't forget the 6 of this when you're new to it. If you've already got that piece, you just go into it, right? And then you wait for the next piece, but we don't move from piece to piece in a pose that's high risk or higher risk. I don't know the way to say that, but we can hurt ourselves in this if we bail, right? We don't want to get that happening. So we want to have a spot when we learn to transition from one thing to the other, because the odds of keeping a dozen when you've only got a half a dozen right now are very slim. So you want someone there supporting you. Okay? So if you're used to going up on your head, go up onto your head and stay in the stage you're used to working at, okay? Does anyone not know what stage they're working at?
Are we gonna do more listening?
This afternoon, no. Yeah, we're not doing much this afternoon. We may have to do shoulder stands because we're running out of time, but that's it. Yeah. We're mostly talking. So knock yourself out. Okay, thanks. Anybody else anybody not know what they're doing? We all know what we should be doing? Awesome, and then I'll support you in your next piece, okay? You're not sure? So let's do,
There's lots of things I could do.
I know. Let's try to do it super slow, 3 stages. Feel that back mat, feel that stack of blocks, and I'm gonna watch you and do it super slow. I'm gonna tell you exactly when you twist, you're not going to because you're feeling it, but we're gonna see. So do one round of where you're at, and then I'm gonna take a look at you, and then if I feel like you're ready for the next stage, then we'll do the next stage. If you are not sure, do the one we just did. So I'm gonna bend those knees, find that back. Think of my feet. Are you on the crown of your head, Caitlin? No. And then this elbow's a little wide. And we wanna get this one, the one that's closest to your blocks that are on the fellies. And then when you're ready, and just think about hugging those blocks and those hands with those shoulders. Yes, and your pelvis very deep back. Nice. And so now find this, own this, go nice and slow, and know your habits, and just think about those blocks being behind your back.
Shoulder hand placement, when you put them behind your heads, I wouldn't like this.
Just do that, next round will help you. Do what you own right now. I just want to see where you're at. Yeah. Just a little bit of length right here. Yeah, sit bone lifting. Yeah, there we go. Now really focus on that lift, focus on the distance here. Don't let this come back. I'm gonna have my hand here gently and lift your thighs without making them overwork. Use your hamstrings and lift your thighs. Even distribution between hamstrings and thighs. There you go. and just own that for a second. Remember your hamstrings and know your habit is these guys work too hard and then it twists you. So now you're gonna think of your hamstrings and you're not gonna move anything else. You're gonna move your ankles straight up without your thighs moving, without your knees moving. Keep your knees totally still. Do not let them move. Do you feel you're leaning to this side a little bit? Everything else is perfect. We just need to bring you into center. Push into this leg. Yeah, there we go. Don't twist to do it, just bring the legs in. Now go back to thighs not moving and just lift your shins. And I think that's too far, so come down. Nice and slow. So this is your stage.
Okay.
And you nail it. Now think of your armpits, think of trap treats, think of those blocks. I didn't get a look at it, so come up. No rush, take your time, but I just want to see it one more time. So Kathy, make sure we're not going past a minute, 10, 15 breaths tops, right into child's pose. Thank you. So do you feel like you're too far forward on your head? Alright, pause, wait. Do you feel it? So listen, and then, don't move. Do you feel that your elbows are not symmetrical? Do you see it with your eyes and do you feel it?
My right is too far out.
Yeah, so come down, take a child's pose and do the same thing at the end of the mat, but try to keep those two cues. So I'm gonna watch this and then I'm gonna assist you after, so take a nice long rest. So you need to stay at stage 1 here, which is pulling both thighs into your belly. Yeah, both thighs. Squeeze your thighs. Now you're gonna learn on leveling out your hips here. Yeah. You see how you're twisting? Your knees are more over here. Yeah. So this is your homework. Squeeze those thighs, squeeze those ankles, squeeze those knees. Remember all that work about not twisting and about moving your hip flexors away from your armpits and then find the symmetry in your elbows. Which is good, you got it. But you need to learn how to feel it, because when you're ahead, you're not gonna be able to look. Yeah, this one needs to come in a little bit. So this one, you're gonna work this, you're gonna work this, you're gonna work this. And if you choose to do that, then you're gonna be able to go on your head. Because you're like this now and twisting, and it's just not beneficial. Like to play with it in class occasionally once in a blue moon, you know what I mean? But we wanna move forward from that, because you're gonna do a headstand, lovely, lovely, lovely. You're gonna take a nice long rest, Win, and then I'm gonna come help you, and when you come up next time, you're gonna come up at the end of the mat. So Nicole, your homework now is going to be doing it with your thighs touching your belly, like you're doing a child's pose, like that, but on your shoulders without the wall.
Okay.
Is next.
Without the wall.
Without the wall.
On the top of my head.
Nope, just as you're doing it.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right, okay, so now pause here. And I want you to get the rise here. So you're going to take your hamstrings, you're going to pull them in, and you're going to lift them up. See how light that is?
Yeah.
Hamstrings are amazing.
I've never worked with before.
Yeah.
I realized today.
So the big thing is, Chels, is what we've seen in like a lot of yoga teachings, which I used to teach you, remember when we do forward folds to pull our butt back and pull it to the side, is as people are aging, because they're always stretching the belly of their hamstring, that people that do straight leg and don't know how to move their hamstring are getting injuries.
And, not engaging the hamstrings is, just letting them soften too much is not good, I imagine.
So now you're gonna really find your butt and you're just gonna lift your knees up as a team. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Now lengthen your quads towards your knees. Pull your hamstrings towards your butt. And then create this force there. And that's a great place for you to stay, because you are not twisting.
Those blocks are magic.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'll show you Tadasana if you come back.
Okay.
All right, so I'm just gonna show one little thing here. Natalia, come down, take a little rest. So the next stage of what Natalia's doing, I want her to bring her head down, just chill out for a sec, which is the stage you're at, and so I'll get you to demo it. So when you're ready. Again, tests, right? So she's coming in, she's not using the wall, and she's gonna hold stage 1. Right? And then she's gonna really notice when she's twisting, and she knows her habits, so she's gonna pay really good attention to her habits, and she's gonna master her habits here. Because it's safe, and it's supported. Good, nice. So if you want to move forward, then this would be the next stage of just being able to hold up. It would then move to this, right? So those of us that are holding stage 1 on our head, you might want to try this for a round or 2, just to see, I'd love to see your core there. And then what I want you to think of is, does that make sense? You're crazy strong. Like when my feet are on your back, like I'm like, even on the mat, right? So with you want to think shoulders hugging, like being my feet, as opposed to this, which is really, really strong.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So you want to think of, you know how my feet were pushing you forward?
Yeah.
You want to think of that action to go up. I don't know if that helps. But also show me your core to the wall. You'll see. And I'll help you with this after. I just want to see this first. All right, so if we're doing stage 2 headstand, again, you only do it with a spot, right? We watch our shoulders, we're here, okay? And so then we have to really find our zigzags, we have to really find our connections, ribs don't change, and you just really slowly start to lift your knees. And it's way further than you think. A lot of people do this, and you feel the crease in your hip flexor. This is incredibly hard to hold. Incredibly hard to hold. So you have to learn, and it could be a 90-degree angle leg if you don't have that flexibility in the knees, right? But you have to learn to get rid of the hip flexor, to move the flesh of the butt away from the low back, and to move sort of the sacrum in towards the femurs, and then you can lift it, right? So that we're staying in that straight line the whole way. What Chelsea and are working on is, like they've done this a while, so they're used to penduluming it. So their work is to think about the sacrum pushing into the femur so that they don't cheat and go way back. Because you see how much harder this is for me? And that's how we learn to come up first, straight legs, but we don't want to do that forever, right? It's a crutch, it's a cheat, it's a pretty cheat, it looks fancy, but that isn't what we're looking for here. We're looking for structure and stability so we can nail our heads down in 108. Yeah, you saw the difference, you saw how hard I was working, because it's not stacked, it's not a wall.
Yeah.
It's like a Disney architectural building, you know, that Frank,
Yeah.
the guy that, anyway.
Right? Yeah.
Crazy wild things.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna spot one at a time, okay? You're good, you guys know what you're doing? Everybody's good? Kathy, you just rest whenever you wanna rest. Legs up the wall would probably be appropriate in the next little bit, yeah? So that's probably a lot for you. So both of you guys are gonna find your stage 1.
You guys know.
Always face belly knee.
Is this correct?
Yes, and then pull your legs in and take your back away from the wall. Yeah, but see how you pendulumed?
Yes.
So these movements are many.
Okay.
Moving so slightly that I can barely see you moving. So watch that neck habit for me, Natalia. So you know that you twist, so you're not gonna twist, right? And then nice and slow, you're just gonna start to lift your thighs without anything else changing. Move nice and slow, don't twist, don't shorten. So opposite, come up. So opposite, we're shortening here, you gotta lift this. Nope, now you're twisting. So go, yeah, so listen and then do, okay? So I want you to lengthen from here to here. I want you to lift this sit bone up. There you go. Now lift your thigh without this dropping. Nice and slow, you're gonna move your thighs, pelvis is gonna stay the same. Don't forget your ribs. More tensegrity series, don't forget your ribs. Keep moving the flesh of the butt away from the low back. If we've not been doing Virasana, this gets super hard. Flesh of the butt away from low back, middle of butt forward, just like Virasana. So now you've lost the ribs, so let's find the ribs. There you go. So with you, we're not going to compensate moving into that Virasana until we nail these ribs. There you go. Good. And then nice and slow, you're going to think of a stick in your hip flexor, and you're just going to move the hips back as you move the knees and thighs down. Ribs, 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 ribs. You need to work your core series. And then child's pose. So you're next. Okay, so pause. Use my imaginary feet to bring this forward and lengthen your pelvis and your back away from it. See how this is back bending? So we're gonna pull those thighs right into your ribs. There you go. And then I want you to lengthen your sacrum away. There we go. Good. And then keeping that length, you're just gonna move your thighs without back bending. Without back bending. There you go. Just move your thighs, just move your thighs, just move your thighs. And I'm holding you back because you don't want to go back, you want to go forward. Good, now find your ribs. Good. I'm gonna let you go. Squeeze those legs together, the salt, right? You gotta work those legs together, out of trigonators. And then nice and slow, you have to go back. You have to push your sacrum back and your hip flexors back, and you're just gonna roll it without shortening the back. Without shortening the back. There you go. Nice, and then a nice rest. Nice, eh? Can I see yours, Caitlin? And so think of this pulling in and lengthening the pelvis away from it. So instead of bringing those thighs up, let's bring those thighs to touch your belly. Yeah. There, and that's where you're gonna play for a while. And then just tap your chin. And then I want you to think about the sacrum pushing into an imaginary wall without the legs moving. You don't necessarily move it back. And then slide that sacrum up and away. And then take a little rest. So everybody knows their homework. Does that make sense? Anybody not feel like they know their homework? Nicole, bring those thighs in. Child's pose. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, all the way in.
Yeah, like child's pose. And then see if you can take your sacrum away from the wall, Nicole. There you go. Have you been up there a minute?
Pretty close.
Yeah. And so obviously, it's really challenging to move from stage 1 to stage 2 without a spot, right? So you have to ask for it in class. I don't know if you're working what you're working on at home. I don't know what you don't know. Well, I kind of do actually, but I'm not gonna harass you to learn a headstand. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna say, here's your homework, do it, but it's not my job to call you up and check in and see if you're doing your homework. I've tried that. It works so long and then, I burn out because it's not my job to be, your personal pep coach.
So Michelle, shall I, when I get home, so I can practice this stage, shall I just pick up a couple of these? I've already got one of these, so I'll just get a couple more.
Yeah, so today you can go to the phone store, buy the Canadian Tire and get more of these, because I know you probably don't have a ton of access at home, or you can order them. You can also order them from Half Moon, but it's gonna be a lot more money.
Okay, I can get them.
The phone store, it's called the phone store, I think it's across from the old Canadian Tire by the Triangle Healing Center.
Live in Victoria?
No.
No,
Kelowna or Kamloops?
no, I think I'll be able to find something in Kamloops.
Oh,
You know where surplus
Surplus herpes, that's where I always go for.
Yeah.
And then these are Superstore.
Superstore.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
But like old 15 years ago, but you can find them in lots of places.
Sure. And then just keep holding for the minute.
Yeah.
Okay, and once it.
And then yoga camp, or not yoga camp, what's it called, Merida, then we just keep going with it, right? We'll move blocks at that point,
Yes. Okay. And don't go over holding it no longer than a minute.
No,
Okay.
yeah, that's plenty for you.
Okay, and just once every time I do my yoga practice, like.
Yeah, or you can do it a couple times,
I can do
just
it.
you don't wanna drink a lot of scotch, right?
Yeah.
So you don't wanna do it only, and you wanna make
Right.
sure that you're being gentle on yourself too, right? But do it and do it plentiful and then see how that feels and then do it a little more maybe, but I wouldn't do more than a minute hold. Yeah,
Perfect, thank you.
cause we never do this one more than a minute hold, I don't do this one more than a minute hold because I can get really lazy in it. And I mean, I say never, but I sometimes do. When I say never, it never means never. But you get the gist, right? Gotta be careful what I say. I used to say every day I practice, and people thought I was thinking I practice every day.
Well,
And
yeah.
I say do it every day you practice. I practice 7 days a week. That's a bit fundamentalist, but like it depends. We have to pendulum, we have to find our extreme, right?
Could you do like the version Nicole's doing, but with 4 blocks?
Like another one on top.
No, instead of like 3 stacked, like 2 stacked?
2 does not work, because I mean, very few people are that small.
I
Yeah.
tried it, I was way too small.
Yeah, 3, and then some people that are very petite, we would then put their hands on height or teach them to use fingertips, which is great, but most people can't do it.
I honestly, and maybe it's not right, but I've been doing it for a while, I use those folding chairs with mats.
I've taught that for years, yeah.
And that's what I have, so that's what I use, I don't have,
yeah.
I have a few of these, but I don't have stools and I have the chairs, so.
That's how the Yangers started teaching it,
Yeah.
right? Like this is an Yanger, that's how I started teaching it, because that's what I had enough of, and it's just scarier. Like
You're
it's really
higher up.
high.
Maybe,
Yeah.
and I'm longer, so I have that.
And you
going for
learned
me, but-
first on those, I
Yeah, we
think.
use this,
Yeah.
the stools.
And then I showed both, right? So that people had the option, and I made everyone buy
And I
chairs.
just put cushion, I roll up the mats on both of the chairs, but
Yeah.
that's just what I have.
Yeah.
And I've actually used higher chairs even,
Oh man,
because I
dining room
did
table
it, I did
chairs.
it.
Yeah.
We have the bar high ones and I just make it work.
Sometimes
Because I just
gotta
need
do
to.
it. You gotta do it, right?
Yeah.
We don't always have a beautiful yoga studio and a mat and props.
And all the props.
Yeah, we just don't, so we do what we can with what we got.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we need to release that? Shoulder stand or
Little bridge.
back bend,
Sort of bridge.
yeah, or one more
Fish.
option. Fish if we do a shoulder stand, but that's really good to remember. There's one more pose that'll release this that's like, buttery, lovely, everybody loves it, oh my god, I've worked hard, I wanna do that instead of a shoulder stand.
Bolsters, something with bolsters?
Yes, yes, legs at the wall with a bolster or 2, right? Right, because it's the action of shoulder stand. But, so we can do that, or we can do, I'm gonna save shoulder stand for this afternoon. Or my favorite, when I'm feeling lazy, is like doing legs up the wall on 2 blocks as opposed to 2 bolsters, because I like that. If I, obviously most people come up one leg at a time, and then I like to do it in the middle of the room. And then if I had a really good friend, they could put a bolster on my feet. Oh, so anything that you want to do, feel free. If you want to do this and you want me to put a bolster on your feet, I'm happy to do so. This is not relaxing and restorative for the most people, but you might find that it's perfect. You can do this at a wall. You can do it at lower height. You can do it at a wall with bolsters. You can do it in the middle of the room with bolsters, but it's a little more wobbly, less structural. Whatever you want to do. If you want to do a long back bend, go for it, but make sure you have enough time to release it. We're going a little bit over time. I'm going to get us out of here as quick as I can.
So I'm just looking at that bottle for a sec.
Yeah.
When I buy what's called strapped chickenings, how would that, would I do with big hands when I would see?
Like this.
So I put down in front.
Yeah, come see me. learn it from me, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just come to class, I'm happy to teach it to you.
Oh no, you will teach it on
I can teach you anytime you like. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah. We do inversions in the daytime practice, it's just people pick their inversion, and so a lot of people pick legs up the wall.
Okay.
Yeah, and then some people pick something else. But if you come, I can choose to pick yours for you, and we can do it together if you ask me for it.
Monday.
Yay! Can I have a bowl for you, Michelle? Yes, you can.
How did you get into this?
I took a bit. I got my butt to the wall first, and then I had the blocks on the side, and I just kind of scooched down. Thank you so much.
Yes. Now think of the hip flexors, bend your knees, move your hamstrings towards your butt, pubic bone away from navel. This is going to change your life. Bring your feet in. Nice, you're going to bend these guys. You're going to dig your heels in, you're going to pull them down, and you're going to think of this. Nice, and pubic bone lengthens. Watch your neck in that, Chelsea.
Am I doing it right?
Yeah, looks good. We're gonna find, guess what we're gonna find?
Hamstrings?
Bend those knees, and you move your pubic bone to the wall. Yeah, and with you, let's go feet and hips distance apart with the wall until we get those hamstrings healthy. Nice. You feel that tug of war, back of the knee moves forward, hip flexor to butt, ankle to wall, so it's creating this zigzag. And so again, think about those joints plugging in from belly to back, but back pushes back on the belly, the ball goes into the glove doesn't give, the glove pushes back, right? So we find that stability in the joints.
Could I have some weight on my feet, please?
Yes. And one thing to keep in mind, just because something is too extreme for me, doesn't mean it's too extreme for everybody. Let's bend those knees. Yeah, just a wee bit. This is so good for you. Yes. That's right.
Oh yeah, that's really nice.
Isn't that awesome? And there was a time in life where I did practice every day because I needed to. But all I was doing was yoga. And it was wonderful that I had that. Very nice. And so let's take another 5 breaths here. And then we'll make our way out of that, doing whatever we feel like we need to. So if we're on height, we're going to bend our knees. We're going to have our knees at hips distance apart. We're going to make sure we're using those legs as we lift off the height. And then we're going to keep those feet at the wall. Just like, remember how we learned how to do shoulder stands for beginners way back in the spring session? We want to think of all that stuff we learned. And we're going to come down one disc, one vertebra at a time. Once we remove those blocks, making sure we use our legs.
Michelle, before I come up, can you just tell me if my pelvis looks level to you or not?
It looks really nice. Yeah, it's probably not ever going to be level here. Not just today.
yeah,
The energy and the slope is perfect, and you've got what I'm looking for here is a hip flexor crease. So now see if you can straighten your legs using your hamstrings and not move your thighs back to keep the hip flexor crease. You see? Isn't that awesome? And you're going to get there so quick.
I was just like moving.
They just love to push, push, push. Yeah. So if you need to give those legs a hug, you need to do a twist, whatever you feel you need to do it, and then make your way into Shavasana.